What's up, wizards, paranetters, and white court vampires, and welcome back to the Fantasy Files podcast, the podcast that wastes hours of your life that you will never, ever, ever get back. We are your co-hosts, Spencer and Gabe, joined by V from Caffeinated Covers, and our friend Gavin, who's been on a couple episodes now. We were just talking about the Night Angel Nemesis episode that he was on, and our big live stream that he came and hang out with us on. But yeah, we'll be going into spoilers for every book up to Cold Days. That's what we're talking about today, the 14th book of the Dresden Files. So we'll be going into spoilers for all of that. But if you haven't read anything past Cold Days, like Skin Game or Peace Talks or Battleground, then you are totally safe. But everything before Cold Days is fair game, including the side stories. So just keep that in mind. But before we get started, a quick reminder that you can reach out to us on Twitter and Discord, which are linked down below. Our DMs are always open, and you can just chat with us there if you'd like. And then you can also reach out to us on Patreon if you'd like to support us. We have a couple different tiers that get you different things. The first tier allows you to get exclusive content where it's called Fantasy Files After Dark, and it's Gabe and I just kind of hanging out and drinking and playing games and just talking, whatever, having a good time. So that's what you get at the first tier. And then at the second tier, the Mistborn tier, you actually get to see all of these episodes live as we record them before they're edited, sometimes weeks before they go up on YouTube. So that is a great deal as well if you'd like to come and hang out with us live as we record them. Lastly, I'll mention our bingo card for 2024. This is a bingo card that is linked down in the description. There's an instructions link that'll take you to a video that kind of explains the whole thing, and then the actual link for the bingo card. And basically, if you watch our episodes in 2024 and fill out the different squares on the bingo card, a lot of which are like inside jokes, or Gabe does this, or Spencer does this, or my dog shows up in an episode or something, those are all like different squares that you can fill out. And if you get bingo, we will straight up buy you a hardcover trilogy of your choosing. So definitely go check that out if you would like a free hardcover trilogy, and if you watch enough of our stuff to fill out a bingo card. It's a lot of fun. But with all that out of the way, let's get into Cold Days, and let's also talk a little bit about what we've been reading lately. First of all, welcome Gavin, welcome V. Thank you guys so much for coming back and hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we Gabe, you were right. Shad is here. Here he is.
I knew it. I told Chad, I told everybody that you were going to show up. I told everybody that you'd be here. They were doubtful. I believed in you.
I was like, I don't know if he's read Dresden Files, and Gabe's like, he'll be here regardless.
He'll be here to say hi regardless. He's our guy.
Oh, that's so funny. Welcome, Shad. Jake Bishop was going to be here for this episode, but I think he's moving or something. There's something coming up where he's moving. Shad says, I appreciate your belief.
Got your back, buddy. Got your back.
But yeah, so Jake couldn't be here this week, which is kind of a bummer, but we're happy to have Gavin back. He's been a great guest in the past, and he loves the Dresden Files, so that'll be a ton of fun.
So does Shad.
Yeah,
so does Shad. I love Dresden Files, one of my favorite series. Welcome to the club,
awesome.
Man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Glad you're here.
Right in. So let's talk a little bit about what we've been reading. Do you guys have anything that you've read recently besides Cold Days?
My most recent reading was actually not recommended. The most recent book I finished was Gunmetal Gods by someone, so I can't quite remember.
Oh, Zamil Akhtar?
Yeah, it was a bit grimdark. I thought it was okay. I decided I'm not going to continue on in that series or trilogy. I'm not even sure. I didn't like it quite well enough. But before that, based off your recommendation, Spencer, I read those two. Oh, I can't even remember what they're called now, but those two vampire books.
Empire of the...
Empire of the Damned or Empire of the... They were fantastic. I really like those.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Those are good books.
Yeah. Did you do the audio?
I did the audiobook, and they're fantastic.
Nice.
It was a really good recommendation. Thank you.
Oh man, I'm so glad. Actually, off of your recommendation, what I've read recently, and now this week
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
about to finish it, is I started the Powder Mage trilogy, and this was not something that I was. I mean, it was one of those things that was rolling around in my mind, like at some point, way in the future, I'll read them or whatever, and I kept putting it off and I never really took it seriously, and it wasn't until you sat down with me, I think I think it was the Night
Yeah, I
Angel
think it was
Nemesis
after
one.
our post discussion.
Yeah, exactly. We were like hanging out for a bit, and you're like, you have to read Powder Mage. Like everything else you've read tells me that you would love Powder Mage. And I was like, okay, and I still pushed it off for a long time, but then I finally got around to it like a month or so ago, and I love this trilogy so much. I immediately like reached out to Gabe and I was like, dude, you have to read the Powder Mage. And he got into it and he actually finished the trilogy before I did.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm so excited to finish it up this week. It's what I'm going to be starting on Monday. And
Chad just said there's a second trilogy.
Yeah,
for
there's
Powder
another.
Yep. Yeah,
Wow,
that's what
cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Steven from the
And some short
Fantology.
stories.
Yeah, Steven from the Fantology podcast was telling us about that on our Creators Corner a couple
Yeah,
weeks ago.
I forgot. That's cool though.
And
Yeah,
Is it like a continuation, or is it just?
It picks back up. I
Okay.
won't spoil too much, but it
Yeah.
is somewhat of a continuation. Also, very much a new story, different part of
Okay.
the world. But Brian McClellan after that trilogy, he's now moved on to a different world. So
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a two trilogies. I don't know if he's going to end up going back there ever. I don't think he has plans to quite yet.
Gotcha.
But both trilogies are great, and yeah, I like. I'm not sure which one I like more. I enjoyed them both.
Awesome.
Okay,
Awesome.
that's cool. Yeah, Steven had nothing but good things to say about the sequel trilogy, which is pretty rare. Like it,
Yeah, I have
like I
some
said,
quibbles about the last book, but otherwise I love it.
sure,
Nice.
yeah. V, what have you been reading lately?
So right now I've kind of been going back and rereading books, which is really, really weird for me because I usually only read things once that aren't Dresden.
Okay.
But right now, the series that I really can't get out of my head right now is like the Red Winter Chronicles by Ed McDonald. Daughter of Red Winter was one of those books where I was like, what the hell is going on until the end? And it's like, okay, I kind of understand it. But I'm also like heavily invested and I'm really like excited for the next one. And then I read Traitor of Red Winter, which is the middle book in the series. And it was like, oh my God, I just have to know. And so I finished that one and then I immediately went back and started rereading Daughter of Red Winter because I feel like there was a lot of stuff that I missed.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and there's another, the third book in the trilogy is coming out called The Witch Queen of Red Winter. And I'm really excited for that. But it's basically about this girl that can see like dead people. And because of that, like in her culture, it's very much like if you can see the dead, you're going to get like stoned to death and stuff because that's bad. But she basically goes to this like, and I'm describing this really, really badly, but she goes to this like cross between a monastery and Hogwarts. To work under the Drowlin, which is this like order of like warrior monks who keep everything in line. And there's also a lot of like power struggles because the kingdom that they're in is like an underling kingdom of a larger empire. And so there's a lot of like political stuff going on. But there's a lot of questions about like, is right and wrong like actually something? Or is it just like you doing the best you can with what you have? There's a love triangle that's not straight, which is something I've never read before and really well done.
Isosceles action?
Yes, some isosceles action. But yeah, it's like two girls and a guy. But I haven't like seen that sort of representation in fantasy books very much. And it's really well done. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but
sure.
I like it.
Okay.
And like it's just good. Like just go look it up. I'm not describing it right. Like it's good.
Sure. I'll check it out for sure. What's the first book called?
Daughter of Red Winter.
Daughter of Red Winter. I'll check that out. Shad Zaman says he's like, I've read Ed McDonald's other series, which I really liked. I have not read the series that you're talking about, though. I want to. And then he says Raven's Mark. And this is actually a book. Isn't the first one called Blackwing?
I think so.
Yeah.
I feel like that was one of those books that I bought when it was $1.99 for Kindle on Amazon one time, and then I just
Same.
never got around to it.
Yeah, I think I
Blackwing
recently...
was the name of those books that I read as a little kid about the bats, or maybe that was Sunwing or something. I remember
Yeah.
it was like that a million years ago, back in the Redwall days.
Oh, I loved Redwall.
Yeah,
Redwall
was
shit
great.
as a kid. I loved
Yeah,
Redwall.
it was so great.
Yeah. But yeah, Blackwing was the first book in that series. I think the series is called Raven's Mark, according to Goodreads, for what that's worth.
Yeah, it sounded really cool. It sounded like it was set in an apocalypse where everything had kind of been set back to like swords and sorcery kind of stuff. I'm not entirely sure, but that's the vibe that I got. I think I recently got it on Audible because it was on sale. So, yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. Daughter of Redwinter, for sure. What about you, Gabe? Anything new? I saw you started
really.
Skin Game.
Yeah, I did. I finished that.
How can you finish Cold Days?
I
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude.
know!
Yeah. And I kind of wish I wouldn't have, because I'm gonna
Now
have
you
to
need
keep
to finish it?
No, I did finish it, but I have to keep it hard locked in my head where Cold Days ended.
That's exactly why I didn't start it.
Yeah, and I wish I couldn't have, but same thing, Gavin. I was like, dude, I have to keep going.
No, of course.
There's no way, that I couldn't do that.
It was there and you wanted to.
Yep. Other than that, Powder Mage, I finished that trilogy. It's freaking awesome. We read Fourth Wing, and then I also read The Engineer, which is the second book. In a series by Will White. That was also really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that Will White.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first books I think is called the Captain.
Yep.
And then this is the next one that came out, The Engineer, because I love Cradle. It's like one of my all-time favorites.
Oh,
so.
he's a Cradle guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't read that.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
I've heard really good things.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of like the Cosmere people really like Cradle.
Good.
Which
That's
has made
cool.
me want to read it.
Yep.
Did the Engineer
It's
did
better
it like
than
is it better? Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited to read those. That's been on my list as well.
Yeah, I think you'll like him. It's a little bit kind of like lighter, a little bit more like less serious and kind of fantastical, but they do it in a really good way. Like doesn't make you feel like you're reading just something you cobbled together, It's
right.
I don't know. I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Gabe mentioned Fourth Wing, and we did read Fourth Wing.
Yep.
This was a lot of fun. We did a live stream last weekend with our friend Sam, where she was like, I know you guys aren't going to like this book, but I think we should all get very drunk and do a live stream and just like hang out and shit on Fourth Wing. And it was so much fun. I don't know how much of that live stream we actually talk about Fourth Wing because we were all like smashed. but it was a great time. I think everybody should check it out.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think the book was good. The live stream was good. Just to be clear.
No,
I thought the book was utter trash.
Spencer didn't like it. I just like the dragons. There's a lot of good dragon content in there.
Yeah, so please don't let me break something. I have so much shit on my desk, y'all. So I read Heartless Hunter, which is another one of those romantasy, but it's more like PG-13 / I guess teenager appropriate romantasy. And I'm like, this is utter garbage. Do I want to read the sequel? Kinda. Like,
see, that's how I felt. I think people were misunderstanding me on the stream because I'm like,
you said you didn't like the book. How can you misunderstand?
No, here's the thing. I said the book was trash. Like the book was written so badly.
It's like the book was trash, but I liked it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, do I want to read the second book? Kinda, but the book was utter garbage. It's like going to McDonald's. Is the food good? No, of course not. Am I probably gonna go again next week? Maybe.
McDonald's fucking awesome. I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Shad says that was a fun stream. He was there for that whole thing. Yep. Yeah, it got wild. He also says, Gavin, I have read Sunwing back in the day.
Oh yeah? I'm glad someone got the reference because it was a long time ago I read those. But yeah, Sunwing, Firewing, there's this, I don't know, similar to Redwall style, talking animals, little kid books.
That's
fun
cool.
Stuff.
Nice.
Are the badgers like the best species?
Oh, absolutely. To this day. Redwall was before the honey badger time. It knew.
Before the honey badger
Before
time.
honey badgers became a meme.
Are they a meme?
Yeah,
Yes.
honey badgers don't give a fuck. Honey badgers don't care. They're like the toughest animal out there.
They're like,
honey badgers.
They fight
crazy,
cobras
dude.
and stuff.
They fight bears, dude.
Yeah, they'll fight off a bear. Yeah, the honey badgers are ridiculous, dude.
They're insane.
What?
You can spend hours on just watching honey badgers on YouTube.
Dude, seriously, they will straight up fight off any animal that comes to them.
No,
Doesn't matter.
a Wolverine
An elephant,
fights a honey badger. A fucking honey badger wins. It's crazy.
What the fuck? I did not know any of this.
Dude, you gotta look it up, man. They're fearsome little
I'll
animals.
I'll
It's
go
crazy.
down a rabbit hole after the episode, or a badger hole.
I feel like I just
Probably
need
not
to
a badger hole.
You don't want to go down a badger hole.
You'll get your face eaten off, man.
I feel like I just need to like frame a picture of a honey badger, and then anytime that I feel like I can't do something, I should just like
Look
go
at the
look
honey
at it.
badger. That's right.
Yeah.
It can do it all.
Yeah.
This is so crazy. I did not know this was this much of a thing. It's funny that all of you know exactly what you're talking about, and I just have
I'm not even on social media.
No, this is like old school meme type thing.
Yeah, it was early meme days, honestly.
Oh,
a long
okay.
time ago.
That's funny.
Yeah, like Bad Luck Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Like way back. I'm old, so.
That's great. That's great. All right, well let's talk about cold days. We've been going for a little while here, and we should pop into that.
Yeah.
So let's go through some of our general thoughts. Just like, after, I don't know if everybody was able to finish the book this week, but if you want to talk about your thoughts this read through, or what your thoughts were the first time you read it, like all of that's fair game. So what are some general opinions on Cold Days? Start with V.
Sure, sorry.
No.
So I really liked Cold Days. I remembered enjoying it much more than Ghost Story the first time I read things, but Ghost Story was one of my least favorite books the first time I read the series. And then on this reread, Cold Days just went up in esteem. I forgot like how good this book was. And not going into spoilers, but there's a lot of stuff that I didn't catch in Cold Days the first time that I read through that makes like so much sense now. And I found myself like going back and re-list. So I started to read like a physical copy of the book, and then it was like, oh, I'm only halfway through. I have a day and a half to finish this, and I really want to do something else. So I just listened to it on audiobook while I did a puzzle, and that was like a really relaxing way to go about it. And there were just so many times where I would stop it and then go back and listen to like a minute or two, and then maybe like look on Reddit to see if there was something that somebody else had thought of with that scene. I was like super obsessive about this one, so like I was very happy.
There's a lot
about
here. There's a lot in Cold Days that ties to other things for sure.
Right.
And ties to stuff yet to come. I was picking up on some like the mirror foreshadowing. It's like, oh,
yes, dude, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, there was
some
quite a bit of that.
And some battleground stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, what Gavin, do you have any like just kind of
so
overall thoughts?
It's been a long time since I read it for the first time, but I do remember loving it. This was my first time actually listening to it. I've recently done the switch over to audiobooks in the last year, so I've probably read it 3 or 4 times before this. This week, this is my first time listening to any Dresden File.
Welcome to the club, dude.
Yeah,
the second one, but my first one by Marsters, because I think I may have told the story to Spencer off air.
Oh, the old Ghost
point.
Story.
No. So it was only recently. So what got me to get Audible in the first place is Jim Butcher released an audio exclusive.
Oh yes,
the law.
And and I'm a Dresden fanatic. All the microfictions, all the short stories, everything I've reread. So I'm like, wait a second, I can only get this through Audible? So I was like, oh, screw it, I guess I'm getting Audible.
Yep.
And then I got 3 credits by signing up for the first time. I'm like, oh, how am I going to use these credits? Well, I haven't done a reread of Name of the Wind and Wise Man's Fear in a while. They're big books. I'll get my money's worth out of them.
Yep.
And then it just launched me down of like, oh, Audible is the best thing, or audiobooks are the best thing ever. I freaking love it. And obviously, even at 1.6, Marsters is so freaking good. The audiobook is so good. But in terms of Cold Days, I loved it the first time, and I think every reread, my enjoyment has only increased. It is absolutely one of my favorite Dresden Files books. It is so freaking good. I love it.
Yeah.
That was well said.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're doing the audiobooks. Like, you have to there's like certain I mean, all of them are good. Like all of the Dresden Files audiobooks are good.
Listen to them all. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely should.
I don't want to drop 16 credits, but
yeah,
right. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Did you know though? I'm sure you already know this, but did you know that you can buy them at like 3 at a time? In, like,
no,
packs?
I haven't looked into it yet, but I'll
Okay.
probably do another. Like I did a reread prior to Peace Talks Battlegrounds, and I'll probably do another one leading up to. What's it? Is it 7 weeks or whatever? There's
12 months.
Yeah, sorry, not even close. 12 months. But yeah, I'll probably do another one leading up to that, and I think it'll be an audio one. And
Yeah.
I'll definitely keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah, because you can get packs of 3 credits for $35. They're like $11-ish dollars a piece.
Yeah.
That's what I do generally. Yeah.
Only if you do it on the computer, though. It won't work on your phone.
Well, I've gotten it on
No,
the phone.
you can buy the 3 credits at once on the phone.
Well, you can buy the 3 credits, but you don't. It's more expensive. At least it is on my.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Oh, is it cheaper on the PC?
Yeah, I've always just done it on the computer because it's cheaper.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Interesting.
also,
Weird.
just so you know, like if you buy stuff through your phone, a lot of times, if you buy like an app or something digital, the company has to pay either Apple or Google.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
whoever
that's
owns
kind
the
of
app for,
why.
like 30%.
Yeah, that's kind of
Makes
why I
sense.
figure it's probably a little more. It's not bad. They come out to like $15 a credit versus $11.50 or whatever.
That's
Interesting.
not nothing if you read a lot of books.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get back on track a little bit here. Gabe, do you have general Cold Days thoughts?
Yeah, it had been, I think, quite a while since I read Cold Days. Like, I think in my rereads, I was just rereading other Dresden File books. So, again, I've read this book several times, but it feels like it's been more than a year, maybe even longer than that. So there were some times where I was like, oh, I forgot that this happens in this book, right? And I got super excited. But yeah, I loved it, as I have every time before, right? It's like an incredible book. And I think maybe this time I was reading more with like a fine-tooth comb, so I was slower, paying a little bit more attention, and that just, of course, increased my for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was freaking awesome. It's gonna go high on the ranking, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think this one is definitely going to be up there. For me, Cold Days is in my top 3 favorite Dresden Files books. It's like Proven Guilty, Cold Days, and then the third one kind of swaps out with like whatever I've read recently, like White Knight or Blood Rights or Death Masks. Those are all kind of like rotating in the third spot. But Cold Days has been like my number 2 favorite since I've read it. Like I love this book so much, and it's just it's the book that anytime anybody's talking about like, oh, what book would you take to like a desert island, it's always either Cold Days or it's like Name of the Wind or Wise Man's Fear. It's always in that conversation because it's such a big book and there's so many things to dig into. You can read it just at like a top level and just kind of enjoy the story, or you can really dig into a lot of different scenes. There's so much foreshadowing in this book. There's so many things that kind of come to fruition. There's just like little theory crafting all over the place.
Even so much humor. Like I've read this book a bunch of times. There was jokes like I don't remember this joke, and it's hilarious. Like the humor in this book is so good.
Yeah,
it's so on point.
Humor is so tough, and this book is great.
Yeah. That was probably one thing that popped out to me too, is I was laughing more than I thought I was.
It's so good.
Yeah,
for sure. And
get on the bike, bitch.
I wrote down a few of my favorite jokes.
Fucking line, dude. My favorite line of all time. Get on the bike, bitch.
Or any tent you have is a sex tent.
Yeah.
Where's the meeting? Accorded neutral ground. Oh, great. I'm starving.
Yeah.
Freaking love.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. There's so many great like one-liners that came out of this book.
Thomas calling Harry a geosexual because
yes. Oh my god. Yeah. My brother, the geosexual.
Yeah.
There's so many good ones. And I love, because so personally, I do not like Ghost Story. Like I mean, I like it like as a Dresden Files book, but it's like my least favorite of I think all of the Dresden Files books.
My least favorite too. I thought about it too. Also, just one, because I wrote down a few of my favorite jokes. One last one. The outsider to Harry. You will come with me, Thomas. Isn't that what Mab told you? Oh my god, I don't remember that joke, and it's so good.
I know. I was like starting I like read through this once, and I was starting a reread, and I just heard that line again today, and I was sitting in my truck, and I was just laughing so hard. I'm like, dude, that is brutal.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, so after Cold Days, you know, Cold Days, I think more than anything is just like depressing for me. Like I didn't really feel like it went a whole lot of places. I know everybody else disagrees.
You mean Ghost Story?
What did I say?
You said Cold Days.
Oh, Cold Days, yeah. Ghost Story. Yeah. You know, for me personally, I know everybody else disagrees, but for me, I felt like it just didn't really go anywhere or like move characters along in the way that I was hoping it would. And then you come into Cold Days, and it's like, we're back, baby.
Yeah.
Like, let's go. And Molly's back, and Karen's back, and Thomas is back.
Yep.
Like, let's freaking go, dude. It is just, it's such a good feeling after the kind of downer of Ghost Story.
Just to add to that point, because I was thinking about why I have such a huge different reaction to Skin Game, or not. I love Skin Game, but Ghost Story versus this one, and that, like, I think one of my issues with Ghost Story was that so much of the story is small stakes, like with the kids, and it just feels like, man, like we are past this. I just experienced Chichen Itza, like now we're screwing around with these hoodlums, and it's just like it felt up to the evil Bob, and but it's like it felt way too much small stakes. So getting back with Harry leveled up noticeably, and everything going back to the beautiful escalation of power,
end, you know,
that's my jam.
Yeah.
Are you worried? And you know, no like spoilers for like peace talks and battlegrounds and all that, but are you worried that 12 months is kind of gonna be another Skin or another Ghost Story?
I was about to ask that question.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
So I am to some extent, but part of me is so I can't go into spoilers, but there are certain storylines surrounding law enforcement and federal agencies that I don't think are I'm really excited for. I want to see how Jim handles certain things along those lines. And so I don't think, like, especially coming off a Battleground, it's not going to be an action heavy book. It is going to be similar, I think, to Ghost Story.
Right.
But as opposed to it being some bumbling kids, I think there's going to be some more interesting players from the mortal side of things, which I'm excited to see. Some more clued in people.
Yeah, I feel like 12 months is going to move the plot more forward than I think Ghost Story did, if that makes any sense.
Hopefully, yeah.
Because Ghost Story just seemed like you froze a moment in time and everything went to shit.
Yeah, I think you guys are looking at Ghost Story the wrong way, all right? Okay.
I mean, it was also great for, like, backstory stuff having to do with, like, Cal and the necromancers and how ghosts and stuff work, and I think that's going to be important later.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's filler so much as it's, like, lore dumping or magic system dumping.
Oh, I think it's super important. I just don't think it's exciting. One of the things I love about Ghost Story, and it's really added to in Cold Days here, is people's perception of Harry Dresden, because it is so obvious for us in Harry's head that Harry's a good guy. Harry's a good guy. But like, if you're looking from an external perspective, it is so hard to believe Harry when he looks you in the eye with his crazy, like, looking how he does. Say,
and then when he like looked in the mirror in the beginning of Cold Days, it's just like his face is more like defined.
He's lost a lot of weight.
He is scary.
He's ruthless. Like, people don't know it, but he did say he's willing to burn the world for the sake of one life he didn't even know existed until a couple days ago.
Said he would roast marshmallows with her.
Roast marshmallows is one of my favorite lines. But if you think deeply about it, it's like, oh no, this person is deeply terrifying. And so the whole threads about him, one of the things I want to talk about is the adult conversations between him and Molly, and then later him and Karen. I love those conversations. I think they're handled so well. They're so necessary, and I love both of those conversations between each people.
You're right. They are super necessary. And what sprung to mind was his conversation with Fix, where he's like, Fix. So when I had read this book, however many times in the past, I was always like, what is going on with Fix? I'm like, what? Like, there's always going to be another winter night. Why does he care that it's Harry? And so in my head, I was like, he just doesn't want there to be another winter night. And reading this time, I actually realized for the first time that it's not that Fix is completely concerned with there being a new winter night. He's concerned that it is Harry, and Harry is leagues ahead of Lloyd Slate. And he's like, we thought Lloyd Slate was scary. If you go down the road that Lloyd Slate went down,
he'll be unstoppable.
We won't be able to stop you, and that is terrifying.
And Harry agrees. He says that when he's goading Fix, he's like, I was 100 times more powerful than Slate before I slit his damn throat. It's like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
And it's like he's saying it to goad Fix, but it makes it no less true.
Right.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's
and it's mentioned a couple times from even other people, Bob or somebody else, that Harry's like one of the most powerful wizards on the White Council, or part of an organization. Like, he is super, super powerful.
I mean, he's always been super powerful for his age because he's so young, but now I think we're starting to see him as being super powerful in terms of like even
the
including senior council people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this book, he considered drawing on the ley lines of the island right before his mental whammy fight.
That was a moment. I remember the first time I read this. The first time I read this, I was like, no fucking way. He's not going to do it. No.
Mm-hmm.
And that was such a great moment. I have that in my notes that I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, that was a moment, dude. I remember reading for the first time just like, oh my God.
With that being said, I can't wait for the day 8 books from now where he's holding the black staff. He's got all of his stuff and he's like, all right, I gotta do something crazy here, let's let her rip.
It just opens up
also
the
off
lines.
topic, if y'all want to talk about like super spoilery things later on, like not on this podcast, I have feelings.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so I guess those are my general thoughts on Cold Days. I love this book, and it sounds like everybody else is kind of in agreement. So let's go on to do our ranking here at the top. We're still going to discuss it, but since we've all read it and kind of know where we stand, I'm going to share this here. Okay. So here we are. We have Changes at number 1. Number 2 is Proven Guilty. Number 3 is Turncoat. 4 is Small Favor. 5 is Deadbeat. 6 is Ghost Story. 7 is White Knight. 8 is Death Masks. God, there's so many books now on our list. 9 is Blood Rights. 10 is Summer Night. 11 is Full Moon. 12 is Grave Peril. And 13 is Stormfront. What... does it knock out Changes? What do you guys think?
In my head, I'm like, Changes and Cold Days are just they gotta be a tie, man. Because and if I did some more thinking, I could probably pick one. But like, just thinking about the levels, actually, you know what? I'd probably say Cold Days. Yeah, I think Cold Days would put out Changes.
I come down there too. It's tough for me because I think Cold Days as an entire book is better than Changes, but the last few chapters of Changes are just so absolutely insane that it still stays so high for me. But as a full book, I think it's tough because luckily I don't have to count Skin Game because I freaking love Skin Game. But without Skin Game, I got to put Cold Days number 1 for me.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you.
Okay. So I kind of feel sacrilegious putting anything above Changes.
Same.
That's fair. That's fair.
I feel like that's where everything in Act 1 came together, and you kind of had that like, holy shit, this has been building up, and there's actually a plan, and he's not just pumping out books for money type thing. Because like Jim Butcher makes jokes about how like, oh, my kid's in college, I got to write more books and stuff. But yeah, like Changes was just
but then
so
he
good.
split Peace Talking to Battleground into 2 books.
Yeah.
A little bit more. But anyway.
Well, no, he also I forget where it was, but he also said that if he put them together, it was just gonna be so big that
it'd be so big, it would be 100,000 words less than a Brandon Sanderson book. It's like, give me a break. You're that powerful. You're saying you can't print a 350 when Brandon can print a 450?
Yeah, but I don't know if there was like something with his publisher or like there's like
dollar signs. Sorry, yeah. That's a tangent, but
yeah, and don't worry, I was just happy that new books were coming out.
No, me too. Like I was stoked when I saw there was 2, not 1. It's only looking back after having read them both, I'm like, that should have been.
That could have been one book. Yeah. But I would probably put it so in my like headcanon, number 1 would be like Changes, and then Proven Guilty, and then Deadbeat. And then I'd put Cold Days. But I also I really like Molly Carpenter as a character, and Polka Will Never Die While Riding on a Freaking T-Rex is just iconic.
That's the hard part about the series. It's all good. It's all good. You can make an argument for every book in this. Well, maybe not every book, but
like
darn
even
near
seeing
every
the list.
book.
Like Small Favor and Turncoat are so high up in my list, but it's like, yeah, well, shit, all those ones above it are pretty damn good.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Except for Ghost Story.
Yeah,
yeah. Like the only ones. So like. I like Ghost Story now, or have more of a respect for it. Like I would put it above the first 3 books, but still like my least favorite book of all time in the series is Full Moon.
Yeah.
Even after
that's pretty
even on a reread.
Yeah. Wait, did you say your favorite book is Full Moon?
No,
my least favorite.
Oh, okay. We're okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so now we're at an impasse.
We are. So I personally would probably put it at number 2. I would probably knock Proven Guilty down a peg, and I'd put Cold Days in there. If I'm thinking about the hard part is because I enjoy Cold Days so much, and if I was thinking about what book, if it's just like any random week, and I was like, what Dresden book do I want to reread real quick, I'd probably pick Cold Days over Changes. Does that mean that it takes the number 1 spot? I'm not sure, because I think Changes did so much, like V was saying, Changes did so much to kind of put a perfect end cap on the first half of the series, or the first act or whatever. Yeah, it's tough. I think Changes is kind of the culmination of a lot of things, and it's like the ending of a lot of things. And so I would probably still keep it at number 1, and I'd probably go number 2, Cold Days. And then everything else gets moved down in the order.
I'll never argue that hard against Changes being ranked number 1. Changes is so freaking good.
I would agree. If that's what we collectively want, that's fine, because it's a good fucking book.
Yeah. V with the...
And unlike you, Spencer, when I go back and I just want to reread one book, it is Changes, because it still hits me every time.
Yeah, Changes is great. I think for me, the reason I don't is just because Changes is so emotionally taxing. Every time I finish... Same with... It's the reason why I haven't read Battleground a lot, too, is because every time I do... It like completely drains me of all like emotion and energy, but otherwise it's it's incredible. Like I love it. And it's the same reason why I don't go back and play The Last of Us 2 a lot, is that game is incredibly draining. It's one of the best games ever made in my opinion, but it's incredibly draining. And that's kind of how I feel about Changes and what was the other one I mentioned? Changes and Battleground.
Oh, yeah. Quick, speaking of emotions, quick confession time. I may have smoked a joint shortly before the scene where Mouse reunites with Barry. And I sort of got misty-eyed.
Yes.
We know Mouse is in Mouse's
sober,
head.
Dude.
And Mouse is like, Mouse is like an intelligent, conscious creature.
Yes.
And he
Yeah.
was full dog mode, burners and
Oh my
spinners
God.
running around in circles.
Yes.
It's so fantastic.
Dude, yeah,
Oh,
I tear
love
up
that scene.
sober to that scene, man.
Oh,
my
man.
goodness.
Full pupper.
It is
Yeah.
such.
I love that
it's
dog
such a
so
good
much,
scene.
man.
So good.
And just thinking, like, we don't necessarily know if Mouse knew that Harry was alive again. Like, I'm sure with all of his like extra sensory ability, like, I'm sure he might have known that Harry was alive. But to see him in person, like the first time that they're reuniting,
Not only that, just be a dog.
Man,
like
just
he was,
being a
like,
dog.
like you said,
Yeah.
burners and spinners. The dude was so excited. Come on now.
Oh,
And it's like, that was the
great.
one time where it's like, sometimes Harry's walking out. It's like the Thomas scene. It's like, oh, what's going on here? It's some bad guy. But like, everyone right away, like, I'm sure my first read, I'm like, of course that's Mouse. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh,
Yep,
man.
Yep. We knew who it was.
So great. All right, so the question is, V, with the list the way it is, like without rearranging everything else on the list, because all we're doing is inserting one book in between two others. Do you feel good with it sitting at 2?
I can live with that.
Okay,
It was good. It was real good.
let's do it. The official Cold
The christening of cold days.
Days. There we go.
Welcome to the list.
Welcome
Get
to
on the list,
Cold
bitch.
Days.
Yeah.
Get on the list,
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. I am scared to see where the next 3 books will rank because
I'm not.
well, it's just like, oh man, everything is like, oh, I don't want to take anything else out of its spot. But
Yeah.
the next 3 are so good. So
So for Peace Talks Battleground for this list, can we put them, like, count them as one book,
Oh,
put them on
please.
the list? Like Peace Ground.
Because it's tough to rank Peace Talk as a single book. Like, if you just ignore everything else and just give it to a random person. Like, I love Peace Talks and Battleground together, but as standalones, it's tough.
He has a point. He does have a point.
I'd have
Both of you guys
to
have a point.
I'd have
I
to
love
think about
Don't
it.
get me wrong, but
yeah.
I just really am salty that he split it. It should
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been too salty about the split because I think with the split he also added some extra stuff that wasn't going to be there
That's
otherwise.
the upside, for sure.
Yeah. So okay, so let's go into our favorite moments and just various topics and discussions that we want to have about this book. I want to kick it off with Harry going. So he's in Arctis tour and he's been doing all of this like physical training and everything, and Mab's been attacking him every day. All of that was very funny. I thought it was interesting how he's like, I don't really remember it a whole lot of it. In my head, it's just this montage of scenes set to the Foo Fighters Walk or whatever music video. He's like, it's like a music video in my head that I just remember. So I thought that was kind of funny. But then him and Sarissa kind of meet up in that room and he tries to put her at ease. He's like, I'm not gonna like hurt you or anything. And then they're like walking into the room, like Cat Sith comes in, he opens up this door and she says, you know what this is, don't you? And he says, yeah, it's my first day in the prison yard.
Yep.
And then, and first of all, what a badass line. But then we also get like the equivalent of that line just in action where he gets
Any other
kind
questions?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Dude, that was such a good moment where like they're like threatening him and he like takes down the red cap and he like fights him without spilling blood. And then some random she is sitting out there and he's like,
You
Harry's
can't
kind of
possibly expect
yeah.
ice shards.
I'm so glad you asked. Does anybody else have any other
Yeah.
questions?
Yep.
Fantastic.
And then he's dancing with Mab to Shinedown's 45 played by an orchestra. Like, that's badass. That is
So
cinematic.
sick. Yeah. It's so good. I would love if we ever got like one movie of the Dresden Files, it would either have to be Changes, Cold Days, or Battleground.
Yeah, give
feel
him
like
$1 billion
Changes-
budget. I want to see it so bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Changes would be
God.
a crazy action movie, man.
Oh my
Yeah.
With all the
It'd be
planning
Cha-
before and everything, the culmination, the battle, it would be just nuts. Well, so would Battleground and Peace Talks, I guess, too.
But
Honestly,
changes is like you can see changes
Yeah.
being a movie. Just
Oh,
the way
God.
that it's set up, you can totally see it being like the biggest action movie of the summer.
Yeah. I wish that Dresden Files would get like a Game of Thrones-esque miniseries
I know.
deal.
I
Like
know.
that would be
Hopefully
so
it'll happen.
good.
Time.
I've said on this podcast before, if I ever become a billionaire, I'll fund it.
Yes.
I'm
yes.
right there with you.
I'll make
Yeah.
sure it happens. And
Yeah.
it's done well.
Link to the GoFundMe in the description.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, right.
no hockey sticks as staves.
No.
Yeah, no hockey
Yeah.
sticks.
No, but you do have like the guy that plays Harry Dresden in the really shitty Dresden Files, and have him come back as like Malcolm or something. Just as,
Oh,
like, a
yeah.
nod to it.
That would be kind of cool.
You know,
yeah.
this is gonna not to start a tangent, but I didn't think that Paul Blackthorne was a horrible Harry Dresden.
No, not
like,
at all. The script was
I really
utter
thought-
horse shit, but like the
Yeah,
actors
I
did
never
the
watched
best
it.
they could.
You should.
I never
you
really
should-
watched
I
it
know
either.
enough to make the joke, but I
Gabe's
haven't
seen a
watched
few
the show.
episodes.
I've seen a few, and it was
Yeah.
the Dresden Files, I guess, but it was trash.
Yeah, I think your biggest complaint was why isn't he using magic? And it's like, well, they just really didn't have
Yeah,
the
they didn't have
budget.
the budget for it, and I get that. That's again understandable for
Yeah.
when that show came out and the budget that was given to them. But yeah,
Right.
you'd need a multi-million-dollar budget for a show,
Yeah.
a
Oh,
movie
yeah.
like this, right? Hundreds
Yeah.
of millions of dollars.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, Gavin, if you can, I would recommend watching it. If you like shows from the early 2000s, like Buffy and all that kind of stuff, you're probably going to like the Dresden Files show, but you just have to divorce yourself
You have
from
to
the
separate
idea.
yourself
Yeah,
from the
that's
series.
tough for
yeah.
me. I'm
Yeah.
just
That's
like,
tough for me too.
That's the
Exactly.
tough
It's
part.
really
Yeah.
challenging.
Like, just as a quick tangent, Brandon Sanderson released like a Way of Kings Prime version of the Way of Kings where it's like
Yeah.
totally different, and I read like half a chapter and I'm like, ugh, what is
Yeah.
this? This isn't right
Yeah.
at all. And
Yeah.
I immediately stopped. Like, I can't. I'm not
Spencer's
good
the
with-
same way with like
Yeah.
adaptations and stuff. If they veer off the book, too bad, just because
Yeah.
we didn't have enough money or it didn't
Yeah.
fit the scene. It's like, no, you're ruining the whole point
Yeah.
of doing this.
I'm very, very, very hard on adaptations. I don't know why I give Dresden Files show the pass, because you would think
'Cause
that
it's
it would be
Dresden
the
Files.
show. Well, you would think that it would be the show that I would criticize the most because I
yeah.
love Dresden Files so much. But for some reason, I have a good time with it. I don't know why.
Did you watch the show before you read the books?
No.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So by all accounts, I should hate it, but I don't, and I don't know why I don't.
Yeah.
It's so hypocritical.
Yeah, no, like if you enjoy it, like that's wonderful. I'm glad somebody did.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glad somebody
Glad
does.
somebody did. Well, as we're finishing up the like, what a great question, like Infriga, Forzari, like that whole thing. At some point in that fight or the next fight or whatever, Harry says, build a man a fire and he's warm for a day. Set a man on fire and he's warm for the rest of his life.
of
One
his
of my
life.
favorite book quotes ever. I don't know
Yeah.
if
Like,
that's quoting something else or just that's
Well, he
a Jim
says-
Butcher.
He
but
says
it's so
Tau of
good.
Pratchett. He
Oh,
says
Yeah,
so
no,
it's
no,
Terry
he's
Pratchett.
quoting.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I wonder, it's got to be
No,
Terry
that's got to
Pratchett.
be somewhere in Discworld for sure.
Yeah.
I've only read a few Discworld, but that's
Also,
such a good line.
Shad just said that's the human condition, Spencer.
Yeah.
Going back to what you were talking about.
Yeah, it is. I know. Yeah. Yeah, I wish I wasn't hypocritical on things like that, because there's certain things that I like stick to like so hard, and like nobody can convince me otherwise. And then something will come along where I'm just like, I'm fine with it. I don't know why.
Also, actually, now that I just looked at my notes, and just to bookend that scene at Harry's birthday party, like in my head, I think of the Dresden Files as just like as an epic fantasy series now. Like that in my head,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
categorized as all my favorite big epics. But then you read a book, and you read a book like Cold Days, and you're immediately remember that, oh, this isn't quite like the others, because you read things like Bejazzled and it just like
Yes.
flows in. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Bejazzled
Go
is
on
so
the book,
funny.
look at
Yeah, like
Bejazzled,
people in
and it's
20
like,
years,
oh,
are
yeah.
they even going to know what that means?
Right.
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
By the context, they will, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
but I
She
don't
was,
think bedazzling will be a
bejazzled.
thing.
Jazzled.
I'll send it over to Gabe. What's a favorite moment of yours?
Favorite moment. I have two right off the bat. when he goes to the water beetle for the first time, and Thomas is hiding in there, sleeping in there.
Yes.
Gets attacked, and Thomas is like, you can't be my brother. He's dead, and they do the whole thing. Super, super heartfelt. I loved it. And then my second favorite, well, I shouldn't say favorite. There's a ton of them, but the one that popped in my head was when, they're all battling on the island. They're trying to figure stuff out, and Harry realizes that this circle that's been here could be used as a summoning circle, and he says, "Map, map, map! I summoned you!"
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Dude, that's fucking awesome!" And then Map shows up in all black. I'm like, "Yep, that's what I'm here for."
You can just picture Harry's voice too, where he says,
"Yeah,
panic.
just panic." Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, that's freaking awesome.
And also the contrast between Titania's entrance a few chapters before and
Yes.
Mab's entrance.
Yeah.
Because like some of the joke, like I love the face stuff, and like actually gets Titania to crack a smile. It's like, what does my sister love? Like big entrances or whatever he says, and he asks her to crack a smile. Like it's so good.
Yep.
It's so true because they're so dramatic, and it's like
Yeah.
They're so
but
good.
so is Harry.
Yep, that's true. So is Harry.
I wanna bounce to the Thomas thing real quick.
Yeah.
Because that is another point that I have here in the notes, and I love, like, even the initial, like, he like attacks Harry and all this stuff, and he's trying to figure out that it's him or whatever.
What are you doing? It's me. It's like, you're not my brother. He's dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, my brother would have
You know
called
how I
me.
know you're not my brother?
Yeah,
That's
oh,
right. Yeah,
God.
and it just
It's
hurts
so
his
good.
heart, man.
Yeah.
And then the part where he starts calling him just slurs, and then he starts crying. He's like, "You insufferable," blah blah. But keep going, and he
And
starts
they start
crying.
doing like this type of fighting and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
He
at the
says-
end, Harry's like, "I love you too, man." After Thomas is like just shitting on him, but also crying because he loves him.
Yeah. The quote is, "You loud-mouthed, egotistical, insufferable." He wrapped his arms around me so hard I heard my ribs creaking. Clumsy, short-tempered, I hugged my brother back and listened to a steady string of derogatory adjectives until he finished it. Asshole. Yeah, I missed you too.
Yep. I missed you too.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I loved the conversation before that where Thomas is like, "Don't you think that I know a little bit about being a monster? Like, you could talk to me," or like all this stuff. And he's
Or like, "Oh,
you-
you'd rather kill yourself than be a monster like me."
Yeah.
Yeah, like Harry even says,
You
he's
don't
like,
understand. It's like,
yeah, he's like, "I had told my brother through my actions, if not my words, that it would be better to be dead than be a monster like him, and actions speak far more loudly than words."
Yep.
big theme of this book.
Yeah, for real. Like, because, like you're saying, the theme of this book, Harry comes back and everyone is really worried, and they're like, "Well, you're part of the Fae, so you could tell us whatever, and we couldn't really believe you because Faes are really twisty and turny, and they try to, mess with our minds and stuff, or mess with the truth. So we're just gonna have to wait and like see how you do." Like that's basically, and you were alluding to this earlier, Gavin, with the conversation with him and Murphy, where it's like, "Okay, you're back. That's great. We love you, but we're gonna need to keep an eye on you. Like, we're gonna need to just wait and see how this goes."
Yeah.
Because it's not just you going evil. Like we'll be dragged along with you. Like because we're all think like it was great. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
It's
there's a scene where Murphy and Harry were either in the car or something, and it was getting pretty deep. I think they were talking about like relationship, and Murphy like had a lot of doubts, and then at the end she says like, "If you go bad, like I'm gonna have to go with you.
Exactly.
Like I'll be with you." And I think that was
Oh, and you're at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is. I'm trying to find the quote
wait.
because it was really
Okay,
good.
hopefully
It's the
that's
same
in this-
conversation. It's like, we've been in a lot of
Yeah.
situations like
I
this.
was worried I was
usually
thinking
you're
skin
wrecking
game for a
something to my
second.
back.
Okay,
No,
so
yeah, Murphy.
Okay.
Murphy says, "What I do know, Harry, is that I have your back always. So, God damn it, don't you start taking the highway to hell, because I'm gonna be there with you all the way."
Okay.
I couldn't see her after that. I felt her head underneath my chin and put my arms around her.
Yeah.
And Yeah,
Did anybody notice he was wearing an AC/DC shirt earlier, and Lacuna was arguing with him, being like,
yeah. Oh, why are you wearing the shirt of another person's?
No, it was Aerosmith.
Yes.
Aerosmith, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that your Mortal Smith or whatever she says?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, was it Aerosmith and not AC/DC?
Yeah, it was Aerosmith.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was Aerosmith.
Yeah. But since we're talking about that Murphy scene, they kind of he's like, but maybe in the future we'll get together. And she's like, yeah, maybe. And one of my favorite quotes is, and the sex, it will be frequent, possibly violent.
Yeah.
You'll be screaming. The neighbors will make phone calls.
Yes.
And she says, you're such a pig, Dresden. Maybe you'll be the one screaming. I love that quote so much. Yep. It's so good. But
speaking of love, could I give a quick little favorite scene?
That's yes, very, very of course.
Because I already mentioned my other little favorite love scene with Mouse, but Lacuna taking her helmet off, Toot seeing it's a cute girl, immediately flying off, coming back a few minutes later with a Jolly Rancher, handing it to her, getting punched in the mouth, going, wow, falling in love. It's just so great.
Yeah,
so cute.
I love the interaction between them. Toot's such an awesome character,
Toot's
man.
So fantastic.
Yep.
Also, I think Toot is a character that's better experienced if you're listening to the audiobooks and just reading the books.
Oh, yeah.
Because James Marster does an really excellent job with his voice.
Lacuna's voice, it took me a while to get used to, like versus Toot's, because it's so different. Toot kind of sounds like how you would picture a fairy. Then Lacuna's like, whoa, like what is that?
Yeah,
but I get it. They're tiny people. It's all good.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's an unusual fairy. She loves celery.
She loves celery.
Yep. And she freaks out when they're giving the other fairies pizza.
You can't give them all this pizza.
I loved Harry and Lacuna arguing about wearing clothes. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Why do I have to wear clothes? Because you have to. But why?" And
I'll tear your arms off.
Why? Yeah, why? Exactly.
I'll tear your arms off. Yeah. And I love when he's like, how do I look? And she's like, mostly human. And he's like, that's what I was going for. And then she says, you have a visitor. He's like, why didn't you tell me? And she's like, I did just now. You were there. Perhaps you have brain damage. And he says, it would not shock me in the least.
And the funny part about those conversations is when other people are witnessing it from behind Harry and are just cracking up.
Yeah.
They're like,
dude,
big bad Harry Dresden. It's like trying to wrangle these little fairies. It's so great.
Dude, where is the quote that I have where Murphy's like, "You're doing fine"? It is.
I think it's right after your arrow dealer.
That
conversation.
He says something to do when he did run some. Okay. So, Toot is explaining what Lacuna is to them now. He's like, she's like a vassal of yours. And Harry says, like medieval style ransom. And Toot says, well, he did run some, but I stopped him, right over there. You saw it. And everybody behind him is cracking up.
That's what I'm
and
about.
He looks back, he's like, hey, peanut gallery, this isn't as easy as I'm making it look. And Murphy's like, you're doing fine.
Love it.
Oh my god. Yeah, so we talked about Fix giving Harry an ultimatum, where he's worried that Harry is going to be so much more powerful than the previous one,
and himself.
And himself. And then it got me to thinking, Harry being so powerful, why did Mab have a common thug like Lloyd Slate become the Winter Knight? Why is she not finding the most powerful mortals?
My headcanon is based off her comment at the end where she's like, when Harry puts a gun to her head and that whole conversation, which is fantastic. And she eventually looks at the sky and goes, oh, finally, I get it. Finally, a Winter Knight worth the trouble.
Yeah.
My headcanon is that she had just given up on the Winter Knight being so very helpful because it just eventually always surrenders to the Winter Urgins and becomes Lloyd Slate-ish. So she's just punted. It's like, why am I going to outsource to these? It's not a great position. And so now she's coming back. It's like, all right, I guess got to find
That's
the
a
right
good point.
person, and it could
Yeah.
be. That's my headcanon, but I don't think we really.
and we
Also,
see
did
how the-
anybody notice that? And sorry to interrupt y'all, but did
No, you're
anybody
good.
notice how Mother Winter was like, "Why did I let Mab choose the Winter Night?" And it's like, oh, did Mother Winter choose the Winter Night before? Does she think that Mab doesn't have standards? Like, what's going on here?
Also, speaking of Mother Winter, just in case people didn't know, I assume people pick up on it nowadays. After I first realized it, it's so glaring to me. But when Mother Summer's like, oh yeah, Mother Winter doesn't leave the cottage much. Like she
The
lost
walking
her
stick.
walking stick. It's just like, oh, the black staff.
That's
yes,
right.
yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
And I was going to say too about the, we see how the mantle switches places, right? The person carrying the mantle dies and it goes to the next available person. It doesn't discriminate between people. And I know Mab is very, all knowing and well, yeah, selective. And she obviously has had Molly in the works forever to build her to this point. Yeah. Contingencies. But it makes me think, like, I wonder if like there's ever been a time where something, that maybe she didn't see happened and the Winter Knight died and it went to somebody that was just walking next to them or something, like Lloyd Slate.
Yeah.
And then she gets stuck with this person that's not going to do well with it.
Right.
And then, like you said, she's like, well, I can't do anything with this.
Maybe that's how Lloyd Slate got it. And maybe it's like her with Maeve. Like, the Winter Mantle is part of her. It would be like killing part of her. And she's like, fuck it. Like, she's Fae. They think different. It's like, oh, I guess I got this guy for now.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Or even
change him out in a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even like Ronald Rule. Like,
that's another one
like
for
this
Summer.
old man. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this older accountant guy, right? Like, he was something finances, I feel like, or a lawyer or something. But he's
Something
just
like
an old
that.
man that did his daily life, went to work, and all this stuff. And you're like, I wonder what the thought process is behind that, or if it was a mistake,
Right.
But Summer's obviously not going to torture, and the mantle of Summer's not going to make you evil. So.
And
Right.
I regarding Rule, I kind of wonder too. In this universe, is this the author Ronald Rule, like the children's book author? Oh, does it explicitly
Rawl?
say that?
I think Jim's answered it out because he's been asked that. It's like, yeah, no, that's him.
Oh shit. Okay. Interesting. That's cool.
Because wait, what did he write again?
He wrote like
James
children's.
and the Giant Peach and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory type stuff.
I'm pretty now I'm not
Here,
quite.
Oh, Ronald
sure,
Dahl.
but,
I might be getting him mixed up. I'm sorry.
Anyway, the character Ronald whatever, the old Summer Knight, is based off a real person. I can't remember who that real person is, but
Yeah, it was a local artist in Chicago. Oh no, sorry, my bad.
no, I think this was like a famous writer. I thought that he's based off of.
Yeah, I the first thing that popped up was the Dresden Files wiki, and I didn't look at that first. I just started reading the thing. I'll find him though. I'm good at Googling shit.
Okay. Well, let's jump real quick to Harry going to the island and seeing, he goes up to the cottage with Bob.
Oh.
And Bob's like, I've never seen anything like this before. And Harry's like, what are you talking about? He's like, there's hundreds of layers of spells on each stone, and each spell is more complex than Molly could weave together, like at all, like on her best day, like she could not weave this together. And each spell has more power in it that you on your best day could power. And it's just like, whoa. And of course we see Bob like projecting like this movie of like the Merlin like going through time and like doing all the different layers of it. But it's just like, dang, like this is something that up to this point we have not seen in the Dresden Files. Like we have not seen anything close to this.
Okay, not to throw off your topic here, but this I feel like is important. Ronald Rule. So John Ronald Rule Tolkien.
Oh, that's
Oh.
Tolkien.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh.
I knew it was a famous writer. I should have been able to.
Super
pull that.
famous. Yeah.
That's
Pretty
great.
famous.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So what do we? I mean, we've seen some stuff happen with the island post, this book or whatever, but it's pretty crazy to see all these spells and like Demon Reach take him down. There's like a security code to go down into the bottom, and this is also where we find out about all of the things that are hidden inside, the least of which is a Nagloshi, a freaking Nagloshi.
Yep.
That's a fantastic
He's
scene.
a
I
trainer,
love that.
right?
discovery.
It's also good, and I think the part that got me the most is Bob's Bob's way of describing it to Harry.
Yeah.
You know, how this place was built. Like that's where I put the level of power, right? It's, you know, not only did Merlin make it, but he did it in 4 dimensions, right? Like,
right.
That's something, like you said, we have not seen at all ever. Well, maybe some little stuff, but nothing as serious as this.
Right.
So it's like the power, you know, we haven't even scratched the surface at this point of what this island is or can do or will do or won't do.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Yep.
Merlin, I would love, you know, I'm sure by the end of the Dresden Files we will know a lot more about Merlin.
I have some big thoughts on Merlin, but that's for after Skin Game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we do once we get through all the episodes, can we do like a spoilers all type video?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah,
we'll be
definitely.
doing a lot of spoiler stuff after we get through all the books.
That's on the list.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I loved this scene. It was the first time where we really got, because we had known about this island since Small Favor, I think. And this is the first time where we're really getting some information about it. So it was a long time coming. And it was really nice to finally get some ideas of what this island does, for sure.
And the fact that like Mab's, well, I guess we from all the information, but like Mab, like was clearly took a risk coming out to the island.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like with the scene I really picked up at this time is like when she first comes, but she's hovering above the ground.
Yeah.
And she asks Harry, like, "Do I have permission?" And he's like, "Yes." And she looks over to the Guardian. And she likes like, okay, he seems chill.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, she's not. He seems chill. She's like, I recognize you have given me a favor by letting me get permission, even though I was called.
No, she says, I recognize you could have handled this differently.
Yes.
So I think she was worried that this was a trap for Mab, and as soon as she appeared, the Guardian would grab her. So that's my first time thinking that was this the read-through. I'm like, I think she was worried this was a trap, or at least, you know, some sort of, you know, she could have got grabbed by the Guardian there, where she was still somewhat worried, right?
And that in and of itself was crazy to think about. Mab being afraid of something.
Yeah.
Or maybe not afraid, but weary. Like, when is Mab ever weary? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
she's like, I'm Mab, bitch.
She's all powerful.
Yeah,
I'm Mab.
Nice to somebody.
I am Mab. Yeah.
And Harry,
but we do see a glimmer of humanity.
We do.
Yes,
we
do.
I was
mortal
once.
once.
Epic line.
Yeah, that's the big line that all the theory crafters know is I was mortal once.
Yeah.
People spawn a ton of theories off that.
I could have some more comments on that after Battleground.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
So there were some things in this book, like the conversation with Kringle near the end of the book, where he talks about how mantles are taken up and discarded on Halloween.
Yes.
And I forget what else he said, but it led me to believe that even though the Queens of Fairy might be more filling a role than letting their personality influence how they do that role, they still have some sort of humanity left in them.
Yeah.
And I think that contributes to the overall theme of the book, where Harry's worried that he's going to turn into Lloyd Slate, he's going to turn into a monster. And even though it seems like the mantle is clearly influencing him in that direction, that he still has a choice about what kind of person he's going to be with this man.
Well, for that reason, his scenes with Eldest Gruff, Kringle, and the Gatekeeper at the outer gates are some of my favorites. Those conversations are fantastic.
He even tells Mab, you know, he's like, listen, I know I'm your knight, and I know that you can tell me what to do, but no matter what you do, you can't change who I am. Like, you don't have power to do that.
Kringle confirms it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, talking about Maeve, or not Maeve, Mab on the island. It's like, you know, he talks about the whole servant thing. He says, because she takes the gun from him, like he points it at her head. Yep. He's like, give me like a reason why I shouldn't like shoot you right now. And she's like, well, if you shoot me, like she'll get both the Winter Queen mantle and the lady, and that would be bad for her. And then another note that I'll read real quick is Mab kind of examines Harry's relationship with Molly, and she's like, it was a beautiful way you did this. Like, you engineered this in just the right way.
He's like, you didn't give her any choice.
Doing.
And Mab's like, well, did you? And then throws it right back in his face. It's like,
right. Yep. Yeah. It's like, oh my God.
She's incapable of lying.
Yeah. She's
right. Exactly.
But at the same time,
she's like, you kept her. She's like, you kept her just enough, just reliant enough on you to where she's not like powerful in the way that she needs to be, and all this stuff. And it's just like, man, that's not.
And that's where you go wrong with the actions and not words things.
Right.
Like, we were in Harry's head for those actions, and it wasn't.
Yeah, like that's not where his intentions were, but.
Yeah. So that scene kind of made me uncomfortable because I feel like Mab was implying that Harry was grooming Molly to like be his minion.
She absolutely was.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like Harry was, at least like not at first.
No.
Like
I don't think he ever was. His actions can be perceived as such.
Yeah. But like once once he was like her mentor and stuff, he was molding her like that's your job as a mentor, to teach somebody something and mold them in a specific image so that they use the knowledge that you give them in a way that you think is responsible. The way that Mab said it, at least, and I don't know if this just like rubbed me the wrong way, like I just read it at the wrong moment or something, but she said something about how Harry like used his silence as a way to like increase Molly's interest in him and like the magical world and
weapon,
stuff.
I think is what she says, right?
Yeah. And I don't think that Harry, at least like the way that I've been reading the series so far, I like didn't get that.
His role was always the opposite.
Yeah, totally. That and I would agree with you if Mav's insinuation is one thing, but we all saw and we all heard and we all read how Harry has treated Molly, which he's been challenged with her specifically. She's came on to him. She's done a bunch of stuff. Every time he's like, no, we can't do this. This is not how this is going to go, right? Utmost respect.
Utmost respect for Molly, too, taking the rejection.
Yes.
Because now it's like she could feel his feelings radiating out of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, I just love that whole dynamic of her knowing how mentally strong Harry must be because she can feel the feelings.
Yeah.
And the conflict and
he fights it down every time just because he has to. Like he doesn't, and he even tells her when they're, because there's a point where, well, hopefully that's
she offers it. Yeah.
Yes, she offers it. She says, if
at the
I
end
can feel
of
what's going on, and he grabs her hand. And he's like, Molly, if it's gonna happen, it's not gonna happen like this. This is not how I want this to go. Yeah. I thought that was
deserve
pretty cool.
better.
You deserve better, and so do I.
Yeah.
What he says. Yeah.
Okay, so I wanna finish our thought on Mab on the island because I have a couple notes here. She pulls the gun away from him, and Harry says, "Demon Reach. If she pulls that trigger, take her down below and keep her there." Yep. Mm-hmm. And then I'll read the rest of what he says real quick, and then I'll go into my thing. Then he says, "Servant, I don't like that word very much. I suggest you consider where you stand and choose a different term, my queen. And you will be gentle with that girl, or so help me, I will make you regret it." Yep. And then this is what you were referring to earlier. She looked up at me almost fondly, smiled, and said, "Finally, a night worth the trouble."
Yeah.
And I think it's weird that maybe it's just because Demon Reach was like otherwise engaged earlier on in the scene, but he's threatening to pull Mab down into the caverns and have her placed in a crystal. Why did Demon Reach not do the same thing with Maeve and Lily? Like, why didn't he just and just like...
Well, I think Harry explains it as because he was split between guarding the shore, both fairy queens. I think he was
trying to guard, but I also think that, and this is pointed out several times throughout the series, but the both courts of fairy are important to the world, right?
Right.
Like they are needed. It's a mantle that must be filled.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like it has to be there. And so I don't know.
What would the repercussions be?
Yeah,
if they were
exactly.
Just
what would the repercussions be? And mind you, with Maeve, probably not much because Mab can handle it. But I feel like that. There's
Lily
things
especially.
Are supposed to be in place, and I don't know if he was able to just mess with that. Or I bet you if Harry told him to, he probably would. But maybe he didn't perceive her as a threat because she is in fact very important to the world.
So in the last I think the last like 25% of the book, there was this comparison between Demon Reach and the Fey Quartz, and I think the conclusion that Harry had was that the spirit of Demon Reach is somehow like Fey adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
And
he does mention that it's almost a Fey creature.
Really?
Right. So like one of the reasons that they could get through is because they are of the island, or they are like on the same team as the spirit of Demon Reach.
Oh, yeah.
Or that's what
I think he described it more as like if you have 1,000 people throwing rock at the wall and a couple eagles quickly fly over and then start attacking you, you don't have time to scoop them up and do everything at once. And even the most powerful creatures can be overwhelmed, I think is how Harry describes it.
Gotcha. And he was getting bombarded nonstop since Harry got there.
And Demon Reach probably isn't used to kite. I think Fix says he kited in or something. Like he wind glided in. Like,
and that's why Mab that's why Mab stayed off the ground. He can't. He doesn't have control of the. I don't think the air. I guess. But then also Harry feel the air displaced when him and Fitz are battling. So. I don't know.
I think Mabs was more symbolic. Mabs was more symbolic of I can get out of here just as quickly as I came. If I'm not allowed to step down onto the island,
it was like a respect thing. Listen, I respect your power. If you allow me here, I'll be here. If not, I'll leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they've just been working together a lot too with Harry's coma, working together, keeping him alive.
They were.
That's
true, and they had deals. They had favors and deals with each other, which is another thing we don't really know what was given to what or why. But so that's another thing.
Yeah, but also this makes me think is Harry, just by virtue of being the Warden of Demon Reach, is Harry more of a peer to Mab now than just being a servant? Does being just being the Warden of Demon Reach, even though being the Warden of Demon Reach is a big deal, does that alone make him more of a peer of Mab because he can literally summon her and then drag her ass into a cell whenever he wants to?
Based off what the gatekeeper said at the gate, I think it does add some. I think people like Mab would look at him differently. Harry versus Harry. Plus he's a gatekeeper of Demon Reach. I feel like that would weigh a lot in certain people.
Problem is that Harry's Demon Reach power is just the island, right? That's the only area that he has power over. So on his island, he is all powerful, peer with Mab or anybody else, right?
Yeah. But once he steps off,
that's gone. But I think as status wise, as like you said, the Warden of Demon Reach, that is a big deal with people that know what the island is and what it keeps,
until he steps off or he steps through to the Never Never, which I can't wait for eventually to happen as well.
And it's
that's
also
true. That's
akin.
A good point. Never thought of that.
It's also akin to imagine if there was a very small country, say an island, where they're not really
island that takes over the world, perhaps.
Yeah, and they're not really taken. They're recognized as a possible threat, but they're not taken too seriously in the scope of all the other countries and United Nations and all that. But then let's say that little country gets the world's biggest nuclear missile, but they only have one. They can do it one time. They're going to be taken a lot more seriously.
Totally.
But also, they only have... Because Harry, he can let everything loose, but then that's his only play.
Yeah,
and that would be... bring them back and let him out, bring him back
utterly destructive. You know?
So I've actually thought of him having one more play. If he tries to Dark Hollow all the creatures on the island.
Oh, you just blew Spencer's mind, dude. That's crazy.
He grabs the black staff and all of
his
most powerful shit.
He'd be a god, man. That's crazy.
I don't know. That would be a little OP.
Dude.
At the end of the first book, he's like, "My name is Harry Blackstone, Copperfield, Dresden. Conjure it at your own risk."
He's gonna get a hell of a lot more. He's already powerful. He's gonna get a hell of a lot more powerful.
Oh my god.
Yep.
That
here's my name. What you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
He uses the ley lines. Dark Hollows the creatures there.
He's got everything he needs.
Appear with a white god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
The Church of Harry.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I've never once thought of that, and that is insane.
I haven't seen many people speculate because it's just so crazy, but if
you think about it, it's there though. Like you said, he has all the tools. He has all the tools
he knows exactly how to do it.
He knows exactly how to do it,
and he's got the ley lines.
He's got the things to sacrifice that he would be willing to sacrifice because they're evil monsters.
And
he borrows his grandfather's staff to channel things.
The only caveat to that I would say is that I'm 90% sure that the big apocalyptic trilogy is going to be all of the creatures getting out of the well. I'm almost certain.
I would agree.
Yeah, that would be what the trilogy is.
Yeah, that would make sense. I agree.
I think that there could be a time paradox that starts it because Vadarung's Paradox is overrated, but it's a different kind of apocalypse.
Yeah,
right.
I'm hoping the time stuff is contained to Mirror Mirror personally, but I think that is possible for sure.
Yeah.
So the trilogy is the first book Mirror Mirror, and then
the trilogy
Mirror
is
Mirror
after,
side
way
story.
after Mirror Mirror.
The trilogy is
All the
Hell's
swear
Bells,
words.
Stars and Stones, and Empty Night
okay,
is
cool.
the final one.
So what's the next book we're supposed to get when it happens?
12 months.
12 months.
And then Mirror Mirror. It was
Which
supposed
is
to
a
be Mirror
cool
Mirror
down.
immediately after.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
12 months is like a cool down book.
Yeah.
So hopefully it won't
so
suck
five more books.
At least,
okay.
yeah.
All right, sweet.
Because we're getting 12 months, and then is Mirror Mirror the next one?
I think it's supposed to be 22, then the final 3. No, because there's one that I think he.
Well, it's
I
changed.
could rant, but he wants to call.
It was 22 and now the final 3, but now we're not so sure.
Yeah, because
I'm not so
then Peace Talks and Battleground got split,
They
and
got
then 12
split, that's
months
right.
got added.
And and he's also got the pro wrestling one, which I could rant about the fact
Wait, there's
that
a
he wants
pro
to call-
wrestling one?
There's a pro wrestling
one.
and there's
All,
a kaiju one, like a
all the
Godzilla
Greek
one.
gods are like amateur or I guess pro wrestlers, like the fake
Is that like
wrestling.
part of the Dresden Files?
Yeah,
no,
it's called
that's
it's called
Mirror
Heel
Mirror.
Turn. It's
So
called
no,
Heel
so
Turn.
Crazy.
I could rant about that. He plans on calling it body slam, and
Body
it
Slam.
ticks me off so much. Because body slam
Yeah.
is a terrible name for the book, and heel turn is perfect.
Yeah.
And in every interview where this brings up, he's like, people don't know the term heel turn because like not very many people watch pro wrestling. I'm like, heel turn has expanded beyond. Actually, here's the question: does everyone know what heel? Does anyone watch pro wrestling?
I don't. No, I don't
No
know
one
what heel
watches pro
turn
wrestling.
is.
Does everyone
Yeah.
know what the term heel turn means?
Yeah.
No,
Check hut.
No.
I
Or
don't.
where you pivot on your heel, I guess.
Okay, so I guess we're 50%. Heel turn is a pro
I'm
wrestling.
a marching band kid. I'm not like a wrestling
Yeah, no, fair.
kid.
Heel turn is a pro wrestling term. Is when you turn from a good guy into a bad guy. in
Oh
terms of,
yes,
like,
I did know this.
You go
I
from a
did-
baby face
okay.
to a heel. A heel is like you play the bad guy in the pro
Right.
wrestling scene. So I guess anyway. So a lot of people don't know it, but it's just such a better name for a book than
Yeah,
Body Slam.
I think heel turn. Yeah,
Hey,
Body Slam is not a good
I hope
name.
so.
I wonder
God.
how he's gonna do that. I mean, is it gonna be in the same format, or is we just gonna watch Dresden wrestle with gods?
No, it's. I think the thing is like Odin sends him to go help Hercules or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is the,
Okay.
the
So we're still gonna get a lot of
one-liner.
cool story.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
it's still
alright.
it's still like everything that we would
Okay,
expect, just
okay.
set in this thing.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, no, it's just
and
a
then-
total Dresden Files, and that's like
Okay.
plot
Yeah.
of Mirror Mirror is alternate dimension. Plot of
Yeah.
Body Slam is Greek
Yeah.
gods are pro wrestlers, and Harry needs
Okay,
to help.
cool.
Hercules
And then
or
we're
something.
also getting the kaiju book, and I think that's the one that's right before the big apocalyptic
Yeah,
trilogy.
then the kaiju
is
one
like
after.
the Godzilla.
What does kaiju
and-
mean?
Like
Kaiju's
Godzilla
like
is a kaiju.
Godzilla's
Okay.
a kaiju, yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
I
Like
think-
a monster that represents something else? Because
No, it's like
It's
a
like a
really,
massive,
really
massive
big monster
monster.
that can like stomp on cities.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because Godzilla.
Have you ever seen the movie? What are the two movies that deal with kaiju? The big ass robots. Maybe you know what I'm talking
Pacific
about?
Rim.
Pacific Rim. Yeah.
Yeah,
But you're right.
yeah. Those are fun movies.
But then again,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
Is
like
the
it.
kaiju one still in the books? Is what about like some of the battleground stuff? Maybe stepped on that. I don't know. Or I guess Peace Talks as well. But yeah, I know more about the Body Slam and Mirror Mirror than the
Yeah.
other ones.
Yeah, I don't think he's talked too much about the kaiju one, but I know that the plan was for after Battleground for it to be Mirror Mirror, Heel Turn or whatever, and then kaiju, and then 12 months got added.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's go back to Cold Days real quick.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Going back to the conversation with Mab, he says, "Was it hard for you tonight to?" Or he says, "Was it hard for you tonight?" And then she kind of pauses, and she's like, "It was the knife, Morgana's athame," and she's kind of the knife that was at Bianca's ball that. And she explains that this knife was the thing that infected Leah and got into the water and then infected Maeve. And by the time it got to Maeve, she wasn't able to contain it, and Maeve didn't want to contain it, whereas Leah wanted to go back to her normal self.
Yep.
And he says, "You didn't answer my question. Was it hard for you to kill Maeve?" It says, "When she spoke, there was something there I had never heard before and never heard again," which I don't agree with, and had never heard again. "Uncertainty, vulnerability. I was mortal once, you know." And the reason I don't know if I agree with "I had never heard before and never heard again" was because we get a similar talk in Battleground. No spoiler, but we get a similar thing happening there.
That's where my mind went. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But maybe Jim didn't know that he was going to write that specific scene when he wrote Cold Days. But yeah, there's
you can always explain it away by Harry in book when he's writing this forgot about that.
Right, yeah.
Remembered
yeah,
it
exactly. There's a lot of wiggle room for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get the famous line that you brought up earlier, Gavin. I was mortal
sorry, I didn't
once.
know it was in your notes, but it's juicy.
Yeah, dude, this has spun off many, many theories of who Mab actually is. People think that who is King Arthur's adversary? Is it Morgana?
Yeah, I think that's what people think, right?
Yeah, people think that she's Morgana from like the King Arthur times, or maybe somebody from like Roman times. So it's pretty interesting because up till now we did not know that she had been like a changeling and chose the Fae side, and because I think that's the only way you become
that
Fae.
here, but we didn't know that till now. Yeah.
Yeah,
that is super important, especially with some of the battleground stuff.
Yeah. V, do you want to talk about any of your other favorite moments? I know that you had a lot of thoughts on the talk with him and Vadarung.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was the part that I kept going back towards. So I know that time travel is against the laws of magic the White Council set forth. And one thing that I noticed with Vadarung is that conversation really sort of solidified why this was against the law. When you look at the White Council's laws, because it basically creates like a double universe, like a mirror universe.
Yeah.
Not trying to give spoilers because none of us know what mirror is going to be, but I feel like the words mirror kind of popped into my head when I was reading that part of the book. Also, Vadarung talked about how when Harry asked him if sorry, I'm dragging this out. Harry asked him, so like if I go back in time and kill my grandfather, will that create a paradox?
This was so funny.
And then Vadarung looks him straight in the eye and is like, I think he'd beat you senseless.
Yeah. And
it's
Harry's
like, okay,
ooh, you know who my grandfather is.
Yeah. Yep.
I love Harry thinking things are secret and real. Like it's like, oh, like White Council won't know that I'm the Winter Knight. It's like, oh wait, it was broadcast.
Everybody.
My porno was broadcast to the universe. It went viral in Fairyland.
Because I think that Gatekeeper reveals he's in on that secret as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. My brother, the geosexual.
The fairy sexual.
The geosexual.
I know.
Because he says he's like, when that happened, he's like, could you imagine like, refers to Mab as like a mountain or a volcano.
Mm-hmm. No, he was referring to him and Demon Reach, the ritual between him and Demon Reach.
No, I'm talking about something else.
No, you're not. The geosexual thing was
geosexual was certainly in relation to Harry's relationship with the island.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'm thinking of... Oh, okay, but he does
The other joke where Thomas goes, isn't that what Mab said? Was
no, I'm thinking of even something
Mab.
Before that. He's explaining to somebody what it was like to do the thing with Mab to become the Winter Knight.
Like she was like a mountain.
Having sex with a hurricane or like a mountain or a volcano.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
But
you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Okay, so any more thoughts on Vadarung and the timey-wimey stuff?
On the timey-wimey stuff, I thought it was handled well. I don't usually love timey-wimey stuff. I'm kind of cautious about Mirror for that, but I thought it was done totally well. One thing I want to say on that is, no, I don't think Kringle, Vadarung, Kringle or Vadarung could have given Harry more of a pat on the back or a pat on the head for a good job well done than when he gives him the Vadarung wink at the very end where he reveals himself as Vadarung.
So good.
Because he didn't need to do that. Like that's
that was Harry earned that.
Harry earned it exactly.
Yes.
And that's the same thing with the Gatekeepers. Like, wow, like not a lot of people make it out here. Not a lot, like even expert, longtime wizards. It's like, Summer Mother brought me out here. It's like, even still, and he gives Harry some truth bombs and some knowledge. I think as a reward as well.
And another like unnecessary truth bomb. I think that it bought Harry a lot of goodwill with Summer to tell Fix that he had a daughter.
Yes, I wanted to bring this up.
I highlighted that too.
That was a moment that I'm sure I had heard it in previous reads, but it's something I really zoned in on this one. I'm like, oh, he told Fix. Holy crap. And I think one of the things I love, kind of like the through lines in this book, is Harry and Fix like immediately butting heads, and Fix is like, I'm gonna kill you if you stay in Chicago. Like, you better leave. and then little by little him just like earning Fix's trust back. And I loved the whole thing on the island where like they fight, he does his thing with Lily where Maeve like changes the words that are coming out of his mouth, and then Lily like throws this wall of fire at him,
or the plasma ball, little tiny ball of plasma that was gonna fucking burn him in the skull, right?
Yeah, but
and Fix is like, Lily, stop.
Well, before that, there was like a big wave of fire that she threw over everything, and Harry like jumps over Fix because he's unconscious with the nail.
It would have killed him, and that's when Fix is like, look at what he did. He saved me.
He's like, there's frost, and he like had woken up after all that happened. He's like, there's frost all over my mail,
and Harry's burnt.
He's like, I'm completely fine, and Harry is like burnt to a crisp. Like, who do you think saved me? And that was this moment where Fix is realizing, like, Harry could have killed me. Like, he stuck the nail in me, and he could have like cut off my head or done anything, and he saved me from this wall of fire that you threw.
Yeah.
And like, oh, it's such a good moment.
I also just hate the fact that after that, I can't remember the girls, but she's just like, you know what?
Marissa?
Fuck this. I'm gonna just give up thinking and just start attacking the Guardian, and she has no more thoughts or actions for the rest of the book.
Lily.
She gets shot in the head.
Oh,
Lily.
that's Lily.
Lily's just like, okay, it's pretty obvious what's going on here, but my lot is cast. I'm not. Even Harry in the book that I don't remember Harry calling Lily. Yeah, she's never been like the sharpest knife in the drawer. Like he did.
He did
explicitly makes fun of her intelligence early in the book, and then that pays off later, where she's like, okay, this is too confusing. All right, I'm giving up.
He's like, don't mess with me, mortal, or I will kill you. And she goes back
and just walks off.
She's like, I don't have time to think about this. It's like,
she's
fucking
like, it's too
Lily,
much.
come on. Yeah, it was sad to see her go. I'm interested to see, because I don't think even in like peace talks and battleground stuff, I don't think we've really gotten a good look at Sarissa as the summer lady yet.
Have we gotten any?
Not yet.
I don't think we've gotten any.
I haven't gotten
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So that'll be really cool. I would imagine.
I just have one last note, and it has to do with that fight. So
go ahead.
Just let me know.
Yeah,
because it's like it's a greater point of like, do you guys think Butter is correct when he tells Harry his theory to describe the Winter Night Mantle, and it's primarily just a pain blocking thing?
Yes.
Because it's like, it makes sense when he's describing it, and I totally buy it, and I do think that's a large part of the mantle.
I think there's a little bit more though.
Yeah, no.
There's also
then
like
Harry
the
magic side
in
to
the
it.
air. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, people
totally.
who dedicate their whole lives to jumping distances can't jump 30 feet.
No,
yeah,
so
no way. There's got to
Harry
be
jumping
more
50,
to
like
it.
that's supernatural. That ain't.
And from like a stop, he jumped 50
Right.
feet from
Exactly.
standing still. That is impossible. There's
He might
nobody
have
that's
taken
ever done
2
that.
steps or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, no, it's bench. I can't remember if he benches 400 or 600 kilos, and that was going to be my evidence at first.
It was 600 kilos
But
or
then
400 kilos, 800 pounds.
Yeah, but then I did the math. I'm like, okay, that might be theoretically, and I'm like, okay, that's not that good of evidence. But then he jumps 50 feet. I'm like, boom, nail in the coffin. Like, this isn't just a pain. Thing.
I think both can be true. I think that the Winter
true.
Mantle like clouds a lot of the stuff that we normally feel just as humans. Because when Harry does get like a nail in him or he touches iron somehow, like he says like, I felt my broken back, like all
Not
of
only that, but
all
the,
of that
the first
went away.
time he gets. Oh no, never mind.
Interesting for him, it's not when he touches iron; it's only when his body's penetrated by iron.
When
'Cause
it's
remember, he's holding the
skin.
That's true.
He's holding the nail in his lips. He holds guns. It's just when it goes through his skin. It's kind of interesting.
Right. And there was that time where they were talking about winter law, and he says, "Screw winter law," and then all of a sudden he's paralyzed again.
Yes.
It's just, the mantle just drops away.
I think that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. But then again, it happens later with the
Later.
Later.
Later,
the 21st book in the Dresden Files series.
Glad I caught myself.
So that's a fantastic scene at the end when he's dealing with all that stuff, and like everything that happened with Lily. We'll get to the ladies in a minute. I want to jump back for a second to what you were saying about Vaterung, because I have a couple notes on this whole Vaterung thing. And I wrote, a lot of timey-wimey talk with Vaterung. Harry says, "Can I do this?" And Vaterung says, "You can." Harry says, "How do you know?" And Vadarung says, perhaps it may be that you already have. And it's like, oh, that's so cool. Like, it's not like proven that in the future that he has, but he's like, maybe like, you know, in the whole like stream of time, like maybe you already have, and that's why you're experiencing things the way that you are. And then he also says, you know, with Harry like taking over the island and everything else, he says, your life is about to get very interesting. From this point on, your life is a fulcrum. And it kind of puts like this grand idea, like everything is kind of hinging on the actions that Harry has taken. And I think we'll see that more in Mirror Mirror, where other Harrys have taken other actions that tilt the fulcrum in like a different way. I just think it's very cool to think about Harry just being this thing on which everything balances.
To that point, I guess I had a lightning bolt thought, but did you guys pick up that Maeve is aware and calls Harry a Starborn in this book?
Yes, we get a couple of those. We get a couple of them.
We get a couple people.
Yeah.
Call
Also,
them,
the Earl King is like, well met, Starborn.
Well done, Starborn.
Yeah, Earl King's on the level. I think Kringle knows. A lot of people know it, but Maeve is the interesting one because we know now. And I got to be careful here, but Molly has the lady mantle. Like, could that knowledge of what a Starborn is, or what it means for Harry to be a Starborn, somehow pass through the mantle? Because I'm so curious about the Starborn shit.
Yeah.
I think maybe, but I would be very surprised if Molly was allowed to talk about it.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Even if she knows it, I don't think Harry's going to get it out of her.
Yeah.
That's
right.
a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah. That's super cool. I love, because I think this is the first time the word Starborn is used in relation to Harry being one.
I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah.
It might be.
I think this is the first time. And so I'm sure Harry hears it and he's like, he doesn't think anything of it. But, you know, no spoilers, obviously. But over the next couple books, we're going to hear that word a lot. And it's like, yeah, I would love more info on what exactly a Starborn does.
We got to see, I don't know if it's spoilers to say exactly, but we got to see the results of some of his Starbornness in this book.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one where he's getting the mind meld thing put on him and he's like, I am Harry Blackstone, Copperfield, Dresden, and just like shreds the dude. That whole scene,
Soulfire bullet after.
Dude, that whole scene was so cool because like in like the dreamscape, he like. It was so anime. It was anime as fuck. He like puts his hand up to the sky, and a scarlet lightning bolt comes down into his hand, and it becomes his staff. And then he's like spiked armor and just whoosh. Like
it's so funny. This read, it's so obvious what's happening. I remember my first read going, what the like being so rattled.
I know.
But like it's so different on a following read.
I know. And then like you said afterwards, he says. First of all, Molly shows up, and all of a sudden Harry hears, he's like, I heard this weird sound in the distance. It was like, boom, boom, something, boom, boom, something. He's like, wait, no, that's stomp, stomp, clap.
Yeah.
And it's like, boom, 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 boom. And then like, We Will Rock You plays. It's like, yes, let's go. And then Sharkface is like distracted, and he's got his gun. He shoves Soulfire down the barrel. He's like, hey, Sharkface, and like sticks it through his like jaw, and he's like, get rocked, and pulls the trigger. It was just it was so sick. It was, like, can you get any cooler? Like he pulls the trigger and shoves a spell down the barrel and just explodes his head. Oh, it was so sick. It was my like favorite action part of the book for sure.
So this might be slightly off topic, but do you think he would have gotten the idea to do that if he hadn't gone through everything in Ghost Story with the gun and that?
Ooh,
that's a good point.
Nice
that's a very good point.
Yeah,
very good point.
That is interesting. I didn't think about that. That might be
thought.
Where he got it. Yeah.
I literally like just thought about that.
Nice.
I was like, oh. That sounds a lot like what's his face's gun.
Yeah. Okay, so running through a couple last ones here. I keep trying to jump back to Vadarung. Vadarung, he tells Harry that he requires a nickel for his service, which Harry doesn't have. And so I love this moment where Vadarung's like, Harry's like, I don't have one, and Harry
like, what do you have?
he's like, what do you have? And Harry pulls out a bunch of stuff from his pockets, and Vadarung says, that's not a nickel. And Harry's like, well, I don't have one. And he like gets really quiet and he looks him in the face and he's like, what do you have?
Yep.
And Harry's like, I have friends. And he gets like a nickel from Molly. And I think like this would normally be like overlooked by a lot of people. It would just seem like some random line in the Dresden Files. But this is such a theme in the Dresden Files where Dresden is constantly outmatched and outmaneuvered, but he has resources. He has people that can help, and like the cavalry coming over the hill is my favorite trope in fantasy. And I love it. Happens in almost every Dresden Files books where like in White Knight, all of a sudden there's like a portal that opened and Marcone's coming out with all his goons. It's like, let's go. And so I love those moments, and I love that the Dresden Files leans into that so much.
It literally happened with a literal helicopter blaring Ride of the Valkyries.
Exactly.
I think that's small favor. So freaking epic.
It's so epic.
Literal balcony driving the helicopter.
Yes,
for real.
100%. And I just love this theme that goes throughout, because all of the Dresden Files teach you something about life. Like, I think every single one teaches, there's always some sort of inner monologue or whatever that just kind of goes on a little rant about life. Like in White Knight, it was about pain and the different kinds of pain that we go through. And this one,
in Cold Days, it's about gay dudes being fined to go bang at the bird park.
Yes. Boink and let boink.
Boink and let boink.
Sorry,
but yeah, I love.
No, that was good. That was good.
I just love that, like, regardless, like, most of the Dresden Files is teaching you a lesson about life, and often teaching you about using your resources wisely, relying on your friends, having people that you can trust. I just love that theme that is so constant throughout the series. And then later on in the book, like, that happens earlier on, and then near the end when Harry, he's like we were talking about earlier, he's like reaching into the dark ley lines, and he's like, I don't know what else to do. He's kind of in this moment of despair. He's like, I have to use the power, like it's the only play that I have left. And then his inner monologue is like, what else did I have? He's like, wait, no, it was, oh, no, that's my other part of the quote. He's like, what else did I have? He's like, wait, I had friends. And that's when he hears like the stomp, stomp, clap, stomp, stomp. It's just, it all fits so perfectly together. Like the Vadarung saying, what else do you have? He's like, oh, I have friends. And then this moment where he's so desperate, he's like, what else did I have? Oh, friends. It just like perfectly, just like, it's a perfect circle. I love it.
I love the dichotomy too of like it actually biting him in the ass too, of having the hidden, invisible, veiled ace in the hole actually ended up backfiring this time, because Molly didn't need to do anything and she got rocked with the mantle as a result.
Okay.
Which Joseph can't always just like count on having an invisible person to back you up right when things are the worst. Sometimes,
especially when she's around creatures who can definitely see through her veil.
Well, right. That too,
So then in another part of the book, we get a meeting with Lily where she explains Nemesis, and this is the first time that we hear about it. Does anybody have thoughts on Nemesis in regards to this book? Because I will say,
in regards to this book, in
regards to this book and before, because I will say the cool thing that I mean, I didn't learn it on this reread, but the cool thing that we learn is that Nemesis was involved with Victor Sells from the first book.
A bunch of people.
The first three major cases.
The
FBI Wolf Crew and Leonid Kravos in Grave Peril. It's like, ooh. And so it makes you wonder what else it was influencing, and in a couple books we'll learn about some of that, but it's
for me personally, that's a pretty obvious retcon, and I love it. Really like that retcon. Like, it's not for sure retcon, but I don't think when he was writing Stormfront he had Nemesis in mind. I think it works perfectly. I think it works great.
So I think that there's this one part that just stands out in my head where Maeve is talking to Justine and she's like, oh, you're scrumptious. I think we're going to talk and then you're going to start to see things my way. And it's like, we know Mab's infected because she said like 2 + 2 = 5. Like she literally said this. So just like taking the literal things from like a chapter or two in this book, it makes me really worried for Justine.
But that scene, when Maeve and Justine really, really, really stuck out for me this time.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, actually, that makes me think of when Sharkface was at the Max bar and he's like, Harry, come with me. And I mentioned it in terms of the joke Thomas made, but also it's like, where did the outsider want to bring Harry? It's not something I'd ever thought of before this read. It's like, if Harry was like, all right, fine, I'll come with you, which he has done in many situations like that. Where would he have been taken? What would have happened? I'm pretty curious.
Yeah, that is interesting because him and Thomas even talk about them working together implies a plan. Like it implies some sort of strategy. So what is that?
Sure.
Yeah, like is there another Harry who like cooperates with him? Like did he think that's how it was going to go?
Yeah, because if the outsiders are outside of their reality, it would make sense that they are involved in all of the other alternate realities as well, and they can come and go at will. I would think. I don't know that for certain.
Assume.
But
I
would
venture to guess that for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's pretty cool though. I loved. I remember reading this for the first time and being like, "Oh, Nemesis, what's that?" And kind of, going down the rabbit hole over the next few years of reading Dresden Files books. It's just such a moment where it's like, wait, this is new. Like, it's such a cool moment. Random funny quote, Butters to Thomas, "You've been shot," and Thomas says, "Just a little."
Only a gut shot.
It's only a flesh wound.
Yeah. Does anybody have any thoughts on the... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, but in the same scene, you also see Thomas's eyes going gray, so you know that his demon is doing something behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah, he's working on it, for sure.
Using a lot of energy to heal that, for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. Does anybody have any thoughts on the meeting with Titania and then subsequently the meeting with Mother Winter and Mother Summer?
So the meeting with Titania was just like tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad.
Like just from the stuff that we know in this book, like Titania probably knew that Aurora was compromised and that there wasn't really another way to deal with her, but also like Aurora was her daughter and that still like hurts.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And so she wants to hate Dresden, but at the same time, she knew that if Dresden didn't do it, somebody else would have had to, or else the world would have fallen apart.
Right.
Yeah.
I was also impressed with like her entrance and like she broke like his circle and all this stuff. And I'm just like, dude, Titania is pure power. Like she is just like a powerhouse that I mean, I think like somewhere in my head I knew that because she's the equal to Mab, but just seeing it on the page is like, holy shit. Like it is wild.
Yeah, she's so powerful and so much, but it's so relatable too. Her being like the rational part of her brain is like, I understand what you're saying. You're not lying. You make sense. I understand the actions you take, but I'm so fucking angry at you. I feel like it's just like, I don't care because I'm just angry. But also the thing that also stuck out to me this time, especially with some stuff we learned in Battleground, is she's like, she was cool. It's just like, we'll start over. I can't remember her exact words, but when Harry's like, well, everything will blow up and all these people die, and she just kind of shrugs and it's like,
we'll start again
for a reset or something. Anyway,
ooh, yikes. So she tells him about Nemesis, but before that, I liked the conversation. I think Gavin mentioned it earlier, or somebody did, like the boink and let boink thing, where she's like, like, what do you think of this place? Like, do you find the people that come here, are they like, is it not a sin to you? And like all this stuff, and him being like, it doesn't really have anything to do with me. And it just shows you a lot of his character and how he thinks about the world. And I really liked like this very simple, like low level conversation with them just about life. Like it wasn't like, it was before they're going into like the intricacies of like Nemesis and all this stuff, and they're just having this moment to talk about like how they view the world, and like, the context of it, like whatever. But I love this moment where they're just having like this very real, almost human conversation. I thought that was really, really interesting. And then of course we get the fantastic line, "Boink and let boink." Yeah. Like that, I'm gonna turn that into a sound bite and have that on our soundboard. Boink and let boink.
You should.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think that Titania was kind of testing him at that point.
Oh, for sure.
To make sure that he was still Harry and not just completely consumed by his mantle.
Right.
Or something else.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about the nemesis. Oh, you're talking about his mantle. Okay, yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I like it too. I find that part of the scene a little clunky, but I also like really agree and appreciate the sentiments. So I like it.
Mm-hmm.
What about his meeting with Mother Winter and Mother Summer?
That was hilarious. Where Mother Winter was trying to throw Cleaver at him.
Yeah, that was pretty wild, man. He definitely stepped a little bit out of his wheelhouse.
That's one that's really different on the reread too.
Yeah.
I remember my first read for that. It was like, it's a lot more serious once you know it's not. She's not fucking with him.
Right.
Yeah. Also, he's like trying to avoid Mother Winter, and he's not being impolite, but he's also not like bending over backwards to accommodate her. Right. And then when Mother Summer comes in, he's like, "Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Right.
I'll give you my arm to walk through," like perfect gentleman type thing. And it's just like a completely different experience.
And I love the subtle little dichotomies between the mothers too. It's like Mother Summer comes in, waves her hand, places beautiful and spotless. Mother Winter walks over to the window, darkens it up with some grime.
Yeah. It's like a physical manifestation of their like two sides.
Yeah.
But also you're reminded that Mother Summer isn't all sunshine and rainbows because all of her spices are like diseases.
Yes.
Like the plague and stuff.
True. So that was my
not ready for that one.
That was my big takeaway. It was Wormwood was the one that he cracked, and she like picked it up, and she's like, "It's not quite time for that one to be born."
Yeah.
And I think Wormwood is something from the Bible. I think it's in Revelation because I looked it up on Google. And it said, in the Bible, the star wormwood symbolizes the bitterness of the consequences of sin. In Revelation 8:11, the star wormwood falls into the waters, poisoning those who drink it, killing many. A third of the waters became bitter, and many people die from them. And so I'm like, oh, what is Wormwood going to do in the Dresden Files?
I assumed it was a made-up thing. That's good to know.
Yeah.
This one, okay.
There's been a lot of theories about it.
This is probably something else. This says common wormwood, and it says it excites the central nervous system and can cause seizures and other adverse effects. Yeah, so there's a common herb, or I don't know how common it is, but there's an herb called wormwood. So is wormwood a disease?
Yeah. But isn't wormwood something that you take when you have like parasites you want to get rid of?
Yeah, so it is like an herb, like in our real
inherited blood condition called porphyria, I guess, is what wormwood technically is as a disease.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the actual real world thing.
I know you don't. I'm just curious because like you hear wormwood and you're like, oh yeah, that's a tree or a plant,
right?
But then they're using it as like a disease that's also next to the Black Plague and all this other stuff. You're like, it's got to be pretty bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And then last thing on Mother Summer, I love this quote from her. She says, "Winter is cold, but never so cold that it freezes the heart altogether." And I think that's such a good like example of Mab, like when we see like how she cares about her daughter, even though her daughter is like crazy.
Also Harry.
And also Harry. Yeah. It can never freeze the heart altogether. I love that.
And hopefully Molly, because I don't want her to turn into Maeve.
No.
Same
right.
piece.
Right.
Not.
Did anybody else notice how similar Maeve and Molly's like aesthetic was in the series?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I see it now. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Like
I don't think I noticed it at the time, but
like the different colored hair.
I haven't even noticed that till now, honestly. But you're right. The hair,
ripped clothing, and like all sorts of
piercings. Yes, like the exact same like, piercings on both of them.
Sex kitten thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that was like a purposeful bit of foreshadowing or
it
something.
It had to have been.
Yeah,
it had to have
That's
been.
interesting. I bet it was.
It's too similar.
That's actually one of my least favorite part about the mantles is it changes your physical appearance. Like I don't want Molly's like face changing. Like But I think that might be over like hundreds of years or something.
No, it's definitely over time.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, didn't they say that Aurora or that Lily looked a lot like Aurora when she was in the gardens?
Yeah.
She might have she was a bit of a Dumbo. She might have just fully embraced summer. Who knows? But you're right. That is a good point.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing I was thinking about too, and this is kind of off topic, we've already talked about it, but something that popped out was that battle with Fix, when Harry leapt the 50 feet, he had this inner monologue. He's like, all this time I've been fighting this power, now I'm just going to let it run.
Yes, when he fully embraces it.
Fully embraced winter.
Man.
And that's...
I've always remembered, but this time, really, some of the stuff, because it was actually after his fight with Fix and when he was fighting Maeve, and some of the thoughts he was having were so gnarly. When he's talking about, like, if she doesn't struggle enough, I'll start biting her neck to, like, taste blood. It's like, what
or her guts are, like, perfect for slashing.
Yeah, it was
like,
really hardcore.
He had very grapey feelings.
Oh yeah,
it was
for sure.
Like it was explicitly. It was really gross.
Yeah, when
and hopefully, but we know that's when you fully surrender.
Yeah,
to the Vandal.
that's when he lets go.
Now we know, and
lets go of his control. Like his control is what's fought it off all this time when he has these thoughts and then shuts them down immediately. Right? That's Harry.
That was a thought I had. I can remember my first reread going like, I think Harry should kind of be a little bit more powerful than this. Like, he was already so powerful in the mantle.
Yeah.
So when he goes, all right, screw it, I'm taking
let it go,
letting the reins out. I'm like,
yeah. He's holding himself back for a very good reason, but like a power-wise, like he is having to just choke himself out.
I feel like sometimes Harry does embrace the dark powers that he has to touch on occasion. Like when he had the belt in Full Moon that turned him into a wolf, he kind of embraced things there.
Right, yeah.
Harry's got an evil within him, without a doubt. He's got something.
I'm convinced if he had let the Winter Night out for the battle with Fix and not the battle with Maeve, Fix
would have killed him.
He would have killed Fix. No doubt about it.
Without
for sure.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
No doubt about it.
I think it's a really good, just like narrative choice on Jim's part to show us what the mantle looks like unleashed.
Yeah.
Because in like future books, you as the reader could be like, well, is this the Winter Mantle speaking, or is this like Harry speaking? And it gives us a good spectrum to look at.
He hasn't ripped that girl open, so it's obviously not the mantle speaking right now.
Yeah, like we see the far end of the spectrum and all his thoughts, and so we can kind of judge.
It's like this is worse than when he was like 25 and throwing things out of his head.
Right. Yeah, so I think it gives us a good like spectrum.
If Bob was to hear his thoughts, he'd blush.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Say no more.
Good point. I like that. I like that a lot.
That's great.
No, Bob would just encourage him, and then it would be like sexy Kemler.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I think Bob likes the sexual side, but I think Bob would be like, holy crap, dude, that's too much.
Kind of more jokey, man.
Bob's entire thing is like sexual stuff.
Yeah.
No, totally.
Well, speaking of which,
sexual, but then there's like ripping a woman's guts out because
you're right. Yeah, like
violent. Struggling enough.
That's different. Yeah, you're not struggling enough.
Yeah.
Dude, but speaking of Bob, when Harry shows up to Butter's apartments and Bob just has porn on all these
screens,
he's like, we got broadband, baby.
Lord gave him access to broadband, dude. That's exactly what happened. Of course, what is Bob gonna do? Watch porn.
That made me laugh.
Perfect.
That made me laugh so hard. But yeah, I loved Harry encountering Bob again for the first time, and now Bob belongs to somebody else, so he's not completely working with Harry.
Well, but Bob's thing is whoever holds the skull. Has the utmost. That's who owns the skull, right? But I also think that Bob makes friends and has friends and likes people. Yeah. So it's probably like one of those things. Like, I really like Butters. I know you have me right now, but I like Butter, so I'm going to be on his
skipping
team.
ahead when Harry gives the skull back, like, he does for sure the right thing in the moment giving the skull back. But with that being said, like, that skull is really, really important. Like, that's a powerful artifact, and it is not being safeguarded particularly well. Like, we saw Harry break into the place and steal it, and
I know
he didn't exactly orchestrate a devious plan. Like, I think there's enough people that know the skull exists, enough people know, like, it was a big move giving it back to Butters.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm still surprised. Well,
it was a big show of like listen, Butters, like, I love you, you're a friend, like, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
it definitely needs to
But
be.
it was for that moment. It was to get Murphy. I think it was the only thing. I think if he had kept it, I don't think Murphy would have trusted him at all.
Right.
That was the moment when Murphy was like,
okay, maybe Harry's Harry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Because maybe Harry's Harry after he agrees to it. Because when she first asked, I think he like puts his fist through the wall and like starts hyperventilating in rage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that Bob needs more protection than what he's currently got. Although he is protected by Andy, who came out naked in this book.
But I think that Butters doesn't understand what Bob fully is and the power that he holds. You know?
Yeah, sure.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's the issue.
He needs a lesson. Like, he needs to be taught.
Well, no, he just needs to understand.
Bob's not a set of encyclopedias. He's like the fucking fulcrum.
Yeah, he's like one of the most powerful artifacts ever. Like, he's like a spirit of intellect that has worked with so many wizards and bad people and good people and knows so much about magic that, he could...
Yeah, like Bob
with the wrong hands, he could cause an apocalypse for sure.
Like, Bob dates all the way to ancient Greece.
He knows the Dark Hollow.
Yeah, Dark Hollow and all that. And the time when remember when Bob went all crazy for a second and Harry's like, lock that shit away, and then we get Ghost Story.
It's still there.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I have a couple quick topics that I want to get to before we close out for the night. We get the get on the bike bitch with Murphy and Harry.
Favorite. I love that. Get on the bike, bitch!
Get on the bike, bitch!
Well, that's
Dude, I
can remember from my first read where I'm like, oh, really? Like, that kind of comes like, Karen's just gonna leave, and it's just like, then that line is like, okay.
Yeah,
I remember the first time
I
listened to this book. I was actually working for Spencer. He owned a construction company, and we were doing the fence at some guy's house, and I was like working on something or whatever, and I was listening to it, and she said, get on the bike, bitch, and I just fucking lost it, dude. Just like laughing my fucking ass off, dropped all my tools, was just cracking up. Spencer's like, what the fuck? What's going on? And I was like...
Is that the origin story for this entire, like, YouTube channel?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, we've been friends for a long time. Yeah, we worked together for I worked for his company for quite a few years, and we became best friends. And he showed me the Dresden Files on like an old school on-the-shoulder boombox.
Yeah, like a Bluetooth speaker.
Like a Bluetooth speaker at this chick's house. And it was
like,
Skin Game. It was Skin Game was the first one he showed me.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it, and I was like, I like this. This is cool. I like this a lot. And then
he started from the beginning.
It's off to the races, dude.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, we were working on a fence or something there, and I had it playing in the speaker, and it was just like we didn't know what we had been like listening to music and stuff, and I'm like, hey,
he's just like, hey man, I really like these books. Like, you ever tried Audible? And I was like, no. And he's like, do you mind if I play this? I was like, go for it. It's all good.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, I was listening, and
by the end of the day, he was sold.
By the end of the day, I was sold. Yeah, like this is fucking cool.
Well, do I have some good news for you because there's 14 in front of us.
Yeah.
Exactly. Coming out.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it turned into us like we would like get off the job, but we'd like Gabe drove separately, and we'd be like standing there just like talking about the book or whatever that we were listening to, and then we'd drive away and then talk on the phone for another hour about it. Yeah. It's like, why don't we do this on a podcast?
Yep.
Nice.
And low.
Yeah. And lo and behold.
Yep.
Okay, so we also get a scene where they're like heading off to the island, and Murphy turns around and kisses Harry before the big battle. It's the first time they've kissed. And she says, "For luck, Star Wars style." And he says, "You are so hot right now." And then she says something to him to the same effect later on. She says, he's like, you're right. And she's like, "You're so hot right now." And so it's kind of
Harry does it later. He's like, I realize that, if I don't make time, they're never going to be time. And I really like that moment too, where he kisses her.
That moment was so good. That was after they got to the island, and they're both laughing about all of this stuff. I have it written down. I said, Harry and Karen laughing uncontrollably. Grenades, as if a date has to have. The look on Molly's face. I know he's a dog, but I swear, Santa Claus smackdown. Just them like laughing uncontrollably, saying all this stuff. I love that. scenes so much. And then he kisses her again, and he says that he's not going anywhere. I'm just like, God, I love these two so fucking much.
Yep.
Like, oh God, it's so good. And then to jump around a little bit, we get Harry at the outer gates. This might be a slightly bigger topic, but we see Rashid, and the gatekeeper says, I know precisely how it feels to be where you are, precisely. And this is after Harry is like asking him for advice and all this stuff, and he's like, you know, I can't help how you think I should help, but I'm going to point you in the right direction, and I'm going to get stuff cleared up with the White Council. And that's when he says this line, I know precisely how it feels to be where you are, precisely. He reiterates that.
And this is why people think that Rashid is actually Dresden with like a veil or something on.
Yeah, like a future Dresden.
Yeah.
Because Jim Butcher has come out and said that at some point in the series, Harry does time travel. He does mess with time.
Does he also say that he becomes a brown man?
Well, so here's the thing. It's
or an Indian guy.
We know what skin color he is.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Check this out. Is because it is heavily implied in Turncoat that Joe, the Injun Joe, is going to teach him how to shapeshift.
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to happen next book. Or
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's happening sometime soon. And so is it so far-fetched to think that Harry shapeshifts into this alter ego Rashid and then time travels? I don't know. Like, I am not... Here's the thing. I am not entirely convinced of this theory. I've heard a lot of people poke holes in it, and I think all of that is super valid. But how fucking cool would it be if Rashid was a time traveling? Oh God, I would love it so much. I know a lot of people would probably groan at it and be like, okay. I would eat it up. I would love that shit.
I think that could be cool. I think the more straightforward interpretation is that Harry has a job keeping bad things in, Rashid has a job keeping bad things out, and he sees parallels.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you also have times where like you can pair Rashid's why am I blanking on this word?
His height
Scar?
is also the same as Vadarung's and stuff. I know some people think Vadarung.
Yeah, they have a similar scar.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Scar, and so I like that one more. But I how many people is one person going to be? So I don't really like it either.
Yeah.
And also like as problematic as like changing your race would be from like a reader's perspective, from the perspective of someone who is trying desperately to not instigate a paradox or split off dimensions, trying to represent yourself when you were time traveling as someone completely different so that you wouldn't muck up the timeline kind of makes sense.
That is interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it's possible. And it could just be that Jim knows what we're gonna think when he puts stuff like this in the book, and he's just trying to fuck with us because he loves to do that. And so it could be as simple as that, but I'm like, there's gotta be more going on with Rashid. Like,
also, just on Rashid, this is my first time doing an audiobook of the Dresden Files, and I freaking love Marcer's voice for the Gatekeeper so much. It's
fantastic.
So good. So good.
Oh, I love, just a quick aside, I loved Harry remarking that there are 5 different conversations that women are having at any given time. He says the conversation that they're actually having, the conversation that is being avoided, the tone being applied, the conversation that is being buried in subtext and body language. And he even says, he's like, men do this too. Like, it's not just women. But I'm like, dude, this is so accurate, because I'll only speak for myself. Like, I am having the one conversation. I can honestly say I am not paying attention to body language in any way, shape, or form. Not really. Like,
so you want to know if you're talking to somebody and they get all visibly pissed off. And
if they get, that, I guess that's a little bit different. Like, I understand if someone's like stepping up to me or something.
Well, no, like, not even that. But like
if we're just like hanging out
or something,
right?
Yeah. And I don't like the conversation, and then I get quiet and look away and all that. You won't notice it.
I would notice if you got quiet, but if like your physical like body language changed, I would have no idea. Like, I just don't notice that at all.
Yeah, that's
and I've always wished that I could. Like, I always wish that I could read body language.
Sometimes it's just a curse more than it's a, you know, like a plus. Because I feel like I'm the opposite. I watch body language more than I do the words coming out of somebody's mouth, and I feel like that's hurt me in the past.
Okay, interesting.
I think it has more to do
because I assume things. Maybe they're not true, but I'm assuming because of the way that they're putting their body.
And I think that's kind of what I worry about too, as someone that like doesn't recognize that stuff. I'm not like constantly thinking this, but every now and then I'll be like, what's my body language saying right now? And so I'm not even aware of like what my body language is really doing. Well, that's the nice thing
about body language is nobody's really aware of it.
Yeah.
It's just a natural thing that happens with emotions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Also, I think that the more that you notice other people's body language and try to keep up with 5 different versions of subtext going on in conversation at one time has more to do with like trauma. Because like I grew up around some really toxic people.
Sure.
Like parental figures, classmates, authority figures, et cetera. And being able to anticipate when they got pissed off and being able to back them off a ledge was like a life skill.
It's important. It's a life skill. Yeah, it's to save you. Yeah.
Right.
I totally get that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, we just all got so far away from the Dresden Files.
Let's go back. Okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's all right. Okay, so then one of my favorite quotes from like the entire series, like I laugh out loud every single time I hear James Marsters say this line. Murphy swept up alongside the boat. I leapt down onto the back of the bike in a single smooth motion, which I felt was cool, and landed with way too much of my weight on my genitals, which I felt was not. Go, I gasped in a painful falsetto. Every single time this makes me laugh out loud. I just love the like, I did like this cool motion that I felt was really awesome.
Cool. Now it hurt. Yeah.
And then I like landed right on my balls, and that hurt a lot. Like, and then I think my big like final topic, besides maybe just kind of looking at like the very, very end, is Harry riding in the car with Molly. And he says, "Look at you, all grown up." And she says, "You have been all day. I can sense it." And he says, "It's the mantle talking. I'm keeping it under control. I won't let it take anything away from you." And she says, "It wouldn't be taking if it's freely given. Yep. It would just be accepting a gift." And this, like, anytime any of these conversations happen, it breaks my heart so much. Because, like, I understand the people that are like, it would be a little icky if Harry and Molly got together. I totally get that. I've never been someone who, like, take Twilight for example. I've never looked at that relationship and been like, oh, Edward's like 100-something years older than Bella, like, oh my god. And I understand why people feel that way, but I just never have like looked at it that way. And like with Harry and Molly getting like exponentially older, and they will age much longer than any of like Karen mentions it in this book, like Molly's gonna get older or she's gonna age
live
with
longer
you,
than me.
yeah, whereas I'm gonna die. And I've always, like, it's always been Harry and Karen first in like my romance ranking, but like Molly is a close second. Like, I've always felt so bad anytime they've had to be like, no, we can't do it. It's like, it's breaking her heart. And just this moment, it just like cracked me. It just broke something in me where I'm like, the poor girl, oh my god.
Like, I don't understand why she's holding on to these feelings for so long.
I know it doesn't really make that much sense, but like,
he does explain that like he's had a crush on her since she was in a training bar, I think is what he says, right? Like,
she's had a crush on him, yeah.
She's had a
crush on him, not the other way around.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
and
so it's been going for a while.
Yeah, and I'm not a girl. I don't know anything about that, but I do know like shit like that can stay. You know.
Yeah, it
weird
can stick around
and
for
weird
sure.
feelings, hormonal feelings, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've always liked how it's been handled. For me,
me too.
Decades in the future,
yeah,
things change. People are in their middle age, normal lives. Like,
when the power dynamic isn't so skewed.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that,
right.
Well, and now actually, because Well, the power dynamic has shifted dramatically because I think from just a sheer power skill perspective,
right,
Molly is now outranks.
Yeah, technically now
definitely.
that Molly is the Winter Lady, she's his boss.
Even
Right.
before, like Molly was super powerful, but only in a couple areas, right?
Right.
She was, like Veils, like she could do Veils better
The
than
one
anybody
woman rave
ever.
was badass.
Yeah, or that the one
Yeah.
woman, stuff like that. She's really good at, but like
and we even saw in Ghost Story her able to do crazy things with illusions, like holding 5 to 10 different illusions at one time and like playing them like puppets. Like it's crazy.
And now she's got the raw horsepower, so
yeah, now she's got the horsepower to back it all up, so it's pretty sick. And then she, in this book, I'll mention real quick, she also gets him a new duster, which I thought was awesome.
That is cool.
He's like,
with Thomas's card.
With Thomas's card, that was so great.
Card.
She's like, how much is it good for? 24 hours.
24 hours. What does that mean? And he's like, it's good for 24 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
Do whatever you wish with
also
it.
love that it's a black card, but because it's a wraith card, it's like,
white.
Well, ours are
It's
white.
a white card.
Yeah.
The contingency card.
The contingency card, exactly. Yeah.
But also, who was the last person who gave him a duster?
It was
Susan.
Susan. That's the name I was looking for.
So, like, is
interesting.
Is this supposed to be foreshadowing for like him and Molly getting together? Is
Maybe
this gonna end tragically, like, or is this just Molly being the person to bestow upon him on his birthday and give him his identity back?
That's what I.
It
that's
could be
what
any
I
of the
feel
three.
like. Yeah, it could be any of the three. I would like to think that it was just Molly being who she is, being the nice girl that loves Harry, as her mentor.
That's my reading of it primarily as well.
Yeah.
But we won't know until I guess
on.
we actually figure it out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's post like it's not going to happen conversation. We deserve better. So
right.
That's if it was before, then maybe it's just like gift giving is a thing people do. When they like someone, but happening after, I think it's just being a sweet her mentor.
Right. Yeah, I love like this
also,
one actually fits.
Murphy's reaction like, "Oh, that's better," is what really makes a scene too when she.
Yes.
That's better.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, it's
like
the
Harry's
iconic.
getting back to Harry.
Exactly.
Yeah, Harry's back, baby. Oh, there was a cool quote when Harry was explaining Demon Reach's power, and he's like, we wouldn't want to get Demon Reach involved. Imagine trying to kill specific ants in an army of ants with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And that is such a good metaphor for Harry's or for Demon Reach's power. I think that's such a good idea.
Demon Reach is a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah.
And not good for anything else.
Right.
Yeah, it's very, very specific set of skills.
Yeah, a very specific set of skills.
Yeah.
An AoE champion with friendly fire.
Right, yeah, AoE for sure, yeah. And something we missed was Maeve and Sarissa are revealed to be siblings. Twins. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, did anybody else catch the part where Sarissa was like, "Or did I steal your boyfriend when you let him live after the first night?"
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say, because I was like, there was quite a bit of dialogue between Sarissa and Maeve, and it was all obviously Maeve's tainted, right? She's got
controlled by Nemesis
Winter
or whatever,
and controlled by Nemesis. Both of those factors, I would think, go into it. But
yeah,
she's just got this.
Are we no spoilers for all short stories?
I know what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about that one after the podcast because I think
feel
that
like it
is
wouldn't
later.
Be right.
Yeah. So I'm reading Bombshells right now. If that means anything to you.
Oh,
right.
I know that one. Yeah. I was thinking of Cold Snap or Cold something.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
But I guess my thought was that it was just interesting, right?
Yeah.
And it goes to show how twisted Maeve was by Nemesis or anything else, like, because everything Maeve said it just sounded wrong and gross, I guess. I feel like for her, all the thoughts she had were fine. They were how she felt. But hearing her and Sarissa talk, it was like, man, you are sick, Maeve. And she even says that, like, Maeve, you're sick. Why won't you let us help you? And she's like, I'm not sick. I don't have a problem.
Fuck you, I'm great.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And around that time, we get the mantle passing to Sarissa, like Lily dying and Fix crying out, like broke my heart this time. Like that was tough. And then Maeve, I love the moment where like Maeve she like aims to shoot at Dresden, and I totally forgot that it was Karen that pops out of nowhere and shoots Maeve
because Mab allowed it.
Yeah, broke her shackles.
Broke her shackles.
Oh,
because she knew.
Did she?
Right at the perfect time.
Mab broke her shackles with a wave of a hand, and she knew that Karen would shoot Maeve.
Oh,
that's another thing I want to talk about when we're interested in going over spoilers.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I have something to add to that as well. Yeah, and that was such a great moment where Harry has this thought all at the same time. He's like, who's the person that's been spending an extended amount of time with the Fae and been like involved with them and had like a close relationship with them, and he realizes that it's gonna be Molly, and the snake spirit goes into Molly, and she just like looks at Harry and she goes, Harry, and that's the last thing we hear her say. And it's just like, oh my god damn it. Like I remember when I was reading this for the first time, this was one of those like set the book down and just be like, oh my god moments. Like when I read that for the first time, oh dude, it's
one of the hardest I can ever remember being rocked in a book. Was when that happened. It really hits you the first time.
It is a huge shock. Like it's just like, oh, everything's about to change. God damn it.
It felt like a changes moment, honestly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think that there was very far that Molly could have gone. Just because, so like, she was under the doom of Damocles, right? So like, after Harry passed away, like, she has no more mentor. Therefore, she is a high priority target for the Wardens.
Yeah. Well, Mab even says that when Harry has the gun to her head. He's like, well, listen, now that she's the Winter Lady, the White Council can't touch her. They can't do anything against her.
That's right.
And so that was like, that's a huge plus. Like, it sounds bad, but it is a really big plus because she's a warlock. We know what happens to warlocks. We've seen that 1,000 times in the series. We know what happens to them. But now she can't be messed with. She can't be bothered by anybody that has,
those Doom of Damocles scenes are really hardcore. Like, you're absolutely right. We know
really
what
hardcore.
Happens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Molly, oh man. I feel so bad for her. And like, we've seen trickles of her in future books, like no spoilers or anything, so we know kind of where she is at the moment.
Molly still lives, everybody. She's alive.
Molly lives.
Harry holds a lot of guilt from this moment, and justifiably so, for sure. Right. Molly wouldn't be here without him. But like realistically, it didn't cross his mind. It didn't cross any of our minds the first time. This was never on our radar. Like, there's nothing. There's no. He didn't make a wrong choice anywhere. Everyone.
No.
How are you supposed to
something
expect?
that was out of his power. Like, it was unexpected.
Out of his power and almost entirely his fault. Like, at the same time.
It's fucked up. You're right. It's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
And that's tough, and that's the worst type of shit to have. Spinning in your Rolodex of bad memories when you're trying to fall asleep is
exactly.
And he holds guilt from it.
Yeah. Oh, another interesting. Mab pulls the bullet out of Mac, and the wound healed up instantly.
Because he wasn't conscious to stop it from healing.
That's right. Exactly. That's kind of cool because that was told as like a third person thing. Harry's like, "How's Mac?" And then I think it was Murphy, right?
It was one of the girls.
She was explaining.
One of the girls. She was like, Mab just waltzed in and stuck her finger in his stomach, pulled the bullet out, and walked away. And obviously, that's pretty surprising.
Yeah, for sure.
Mac mysteries.
Yep, Mac mysteries. One of my favorite mysteries of the whole fucking series.
It's so great. I love.
So great.
I love
it. Mac.
Every tidbit we get, man, it's like gold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we get the final scene with Murphy, and they kind of have the talk, and then we get the ending where Harry decides to stay on the island, and he's like, there's a big storm coming, and I need to make preparations. And he's got a newly cut branch
Could he
of
perhaps
oak.
be talking about a storm front?
Yeah, exactly. The time loop.
Yeah.
Let's do the time warp again.
That's one thing I remember from my first read is thinking like, yo, what WTF? Like,
Yeah.
what, you're just gonna chill?
Yeah.
Like, I remember being blown away by that.
Yeah.
I still think it was a bad, or like
It's I think it's kind of meta. Jim Butcher wants him there to start the next book.
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
In theory, yeah, it was probably a bad move, but at the same time, like it worked. It works well.
Yeah.
You know, everything pans out.
He would have been back there for reasons either way.
Yeah.
So I mean, he still has that headache, and there's something obviously at this point in his head that Demon Reach can tell to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
But he even mentions earlier in the book where Demon Reach tells him like the grasshopper can take care of it. It's like, why did he not just like, hey, let's just take like 5 minutes to like help me with this thing?
It's the same question as why does it take 5 minutes to have a thought, have a little think about a starboard?
I know.
I was gonna say, yeah, we can't go down those. I was gonna say he was at the time that he probably could have done it. It was just too much shit going on. You know, how can you stop everything and do that?
Well, you know what's funny is in this book, I don't remember one single time where Harry slept, because usually it'll tell you like he went back to his apartment and he slept and then he woke up the next day.
Yeah, there's a couple times
Harry doesn't get a lot of sleep during the Dresden Files.
Yeah.
Especially now that he's the Winter Knight. Like I feel like there's been a couple times where it's been said like, "Have you slept?"
Just constantly talking about how tired he is. He's never.
Yeah, he's exhausted 24/7.
Yeah, but it made me wonder. I think, if I'm not mistaken, because I don't even remember any real reference to like what time of day a lot of this was happening besides the thing with Titania.
They talk about like dawn and dusk a lot.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because I'm like, is cold days 1 day or like 1.5 days? I think it all.
No, it's like 1.5 or 2 days.
He enters
right?
Chicago the first minute of Halloween.
Right. Okay. So it's midnight on, of the day
October
of
31st, I think.
Right. Okay.
Is when he steps through the way in his closet.
And like the whole Demon Reach thing happening is happening at the end of the day, right?
That's happening. Yeah, I think that's happening like
the night of.
Oh, because they're talking
he's
about
able
dawn
to
isn't
kill
until hours away. It must be like 11 p.m. at night. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
They don't really talk about that.
Because the only way immortals are able to die is on Halloween.
I was going to say, that gets a little hand-wavy, because it's like,
if
it's at 3 a.m. fighting, then it's like, I think purposely Jim is a little opaque on the timing there.
Yeah, it probably has more to do with like the stars and stuff.
Yeah,
than it does
that's
stuff.
Yeah, like what time zone is,
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I guess the question now is, do they observe daylight savings time in Fairy?
Probably. They probably have to.
I do. One
good thing about Fairy is no daylight savings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one good thing.
But then they start getting behind or ahead. I don't know which way, but
yeah.
I feel like Fairy is like, like the courts are like meant there to kind of preserve the natural order of the planet.
Uh-huh.
So I would assume that they'd probably have to go along with that shit,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was something I just caught on this reread, and Harry, early in the book, like after the thing with Thomas and before him and Fix meeting up, I just caught this on this reread, first time ever. Lara was Dresden's runner-up for his death after Kincaid.
Not a bad way to go.
Likewise, me noticing it. I didn't notice that before either.
He even said something like, if you're going to go out, there are worse options than at the hands of the Queen Succubi.
Yeah, that's insane.
And I'm like, dude, I don't know how I never saw this before. This seems like, I mean, not significant in like the grand scheme of things, but like, this is big. Like, holy crap. And so
I think it could have been like Kincaid was his 99th percentile choice,
right?
And his 1 percentile choice is like commit suicide via sex, like,
right? Yeah,
more flippant.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not?
Yeah, like unless the worry is she leaves you as a Justine like being under her.
Either that,
but like,
either that, or she would
curse?
definitely finish the job. Like she would, he would be dead.
Always. Yeah, she wouldn't probably be super. Well, actually, I don't know.
So, like, if his mother was able to pull off a death curse on her father, then he could probably pull off at least like an annoying
I would agree,
death curse on her.
Definitely.
He could, but not if he wanted to die, right? Like if he ordered her, kill me. This is my favorite.
No, this would be in a situation where like she's betraying him in the death.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Turn him into a pawn or something, right?
Gotcha.
But also, like, if he sensed that she was doing that and wasn't just going to let her die and stuff, he might try to, like, nudge things along a certain way.
Curse yourself.
Plus, also, like, if he did go that way, then there'd be no more books. So
exactly,
because he died, fell into the river. Mab and Deemer reached, because Mab says, well, actually, I don't know if this is later.
The other death story is the story of fanfics. This is the story of the
fanfics.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Do you know the moment I'm thinking of though with Mab when she says, "I am the Queen of Darkness," right? Because there's a point in time, and this you might have to cut this out. I'm just going with my thought here. There's a point in time where Mab is explaining to him, "You think I wouldn't get you? I am the Queen of Darkness. Where were you, darkness in the lake? I got you."
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Sorry.
Yeah, she said like the water is my domain. Like
the water is
the
darkness is my domain. Yeah, exactly.
I can't remember what book that's from.
I don't know.
Yeah, so did Harry that's not why she was able to get to him.
No, Harry did. Harry meant to die,
sure.
but Mab was able to get him because he fell in the lake of Demon Reach, and they made a deal. Mab and Demon Reach made a deal, and also the darkness of the lake was her domain. She is the queen of air and darkness,
right?
So she was able to grab him and keep him alive.
Yeah, I do remember that. I can't remember which book it's from, but
it's definitely. Glad I'm not going crazy. Probably Ghost Story. That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, at the end of Ghost Story, I bet that's when it was. So yeah, I'm at the end of my notes, guys. Do you have any final thoughts or anything? You guys have hung out for 3 hours.
I'm good. I got a boogie pretty quick though.
I gotta get out of here too. My final thought is we talked about Ace precisely the correct amount.
That character sucks.
I enjoy
that guy.
I enjoy every scene of this book, minus the ones with Ace. And that is my final thought.
He's trying so hard to impress Daddy, who doesn't love him.
Oh man, make the fairies work for the Red Hat and get rid of that character.
Yeah.
I don't like second guessing authors' choices sometimes, but that's an easy cut.
Yeah.
I don't even really understand why the Red Cap hated Harry in the first place.
Yeah.
I think
Winter
Red
Cap.
Yeah, just Winter, I would say.
He's an
Winter
asshole.
Court
But
I
think of his MO of befriend people,
and then killing them and dipping his hat in them and wearing it continuously. Yeah.
I think Harry killed Ace in a really cool way though. Like it was just like brutal and cold. He was just like sitting in the back of the room with his Winchester in the dark, and as soon as Ace entered the room, he just pulled the trigger and killed him. It's like, whoa, like that was cold.
Yeah, it's like people are like, oh yeah, Harry dressed as a hero, and then you just tell someone that exact story, and it's like, well, that is like, I can see why some people might be a little unnerved by his presence.
Yep.
Exactly.
Pretty ruthless.
Wait, was that on the boat?
He was on the boat. Yeah.
It goes by fast.
Do we think Cat Sith is coming back? Because Cat Sith just got thrown into the water, right? He just got launched into the water.
I would think that he is.
No body.
Yeah.
Yep.
No body, not dead.
Nobody.
Nobody not dead. Hopefully,
not dead.
hopefully it's not still contaminated. I actually kind of like Cat Sith.
Yeah,
Cat
Sith was awesome.
Yeah. That character.
Yeah. I like when he hucked up a
yes,
furball
of bones.
Yeah, I guess I love that his thing is just like ripping the entire spine out. Like he's got a signature move.
Coasters. He's like,
I'm
gonna make coasters out of your spine.
Yes, exactly that.
He does send
whoa.
flying Wintercourt Fae in the fight scene. Like he'll just he sent a couple of spines flying, I think.
Yeah, and he's like uber powerful. Like even there's a couple times where Harry realizes like, oh, you're this Cat Sith.
Right.
He's like one of the OG fairies, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. V, final thoughts?
I think that this was a really entertaining book and kind of like a lift after Cold Days,
or after a Ghost Story.
Or after Ghost.
Yep.
Y'all know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. I'm just clarifying. That's all. I know what you meant.
And I feel like this book has, like, if you're reading it for the first time, it's a great book. It's very entertaining. I loved it. 10 out of 10 would read again. If you're reading it as like a second read through, there's a lot of subtext that we didn't necessarily cover here that is extremely fascinating and will probably take me a while to try to get through.
Yeah.
Like
I
you
agree.
spend
The
weeks.
relationship stuff you could dig into.
Yes!
Like, the relationships of the Dresden Files are so compelling.
Gabe, final thoughts?
Yeah, man, it was. I was really stoked to get back into the Dresden Files. I feel like I haven't read. It's been a while since I've reread a book from the Dresden Files. The last couple of rereads were just Peace Talks and Battlegrounds. And a lot of people are gonna be like, "Why would you do that?" But they're up there for me. Yeah. So I loved it, man. It was really cool. I love seeing all the drama and the politics and everything that culminated into the shit show that happened at the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good, man.
Yeah. The end ramps up into, I think, one of the most like action-packed rides of the Dresden Files. Like maybe it doesn't compare with like Battlegrounds or something, but it's like Harry is trying to escape with Murphy, and then the hunt, and then the Outsiders, and then everything with Maeve and Lily. It's just like
it's
one
like
after another after another.
Potentially debilitating action where Harry could die at any second, but he manages to maintain.
Like every Dresden Files book is incredibly paced, and like none more so than perhaps. Well, honestly, Skin Game too, but like really well paced. Every scene is important and interesting and fast. And
everything
the books
pays
read
off
so
like
fast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for me, I mentioned at the top of the show that this book is in my top 3 favorite Dresden Files books, and like everything everybody else said, like it's super funny. It's got everything. Like it has everything, like literally every single thing that I want from a Dresden Files book. It's got it's humorous, it's got the funny stuff, it's got the relationship stuff, it's got the twisty turny theory crafting stuff, it's got a well-paced story that I really enjoy unraveling the mystery of. Like I remember when I read this for the first time, I'm like, how is the island gonna explode? And I was so like focused into that. I'm like, how could that possibly happen? And you read a book once and you know the twist and all that, and so it's not as great the next time, but I can recognize it as a well-told mystery and well-told twist at the end and whatnot. And then it's also got like incredible action. Like it's just got every single thing that I look for, including like the emotional highs and lows, and like especially lows. Like Harry gets to some really low moments in this book, and then you get like emotional moments with like Molly and Karen and Thomas. The one with Thomas is great. And so I think it just has everything, and it's honestly like a perfect example of like what the Dresden Files books are. Like it's got the life lessons, it has everything. So definitely one of my favorites, without a doubt. For some reason, Proven Guilty is my number 1, and I think it's just because it's the first Dresden Files book that I read, and so I have like a really big like attachment to it. But if Proven Guilty wasn't there, Cold Days would definitely be my number 1. So I'm glad that we finally got to the point where we got to read it, because we have been doing this episode series since we started the podcast 3 years ago.
Oh, damn.
And we're hoping to finish Battleground this year. We'll see.
No, it's not gonna happen.
But I'm really looking forward to we got Skin Game next, which I'm interested to see where it ranks for me, because I don't think it's a lot of people's favorites, and I love it. I don't think it's in like my top 5, I don't think. And so I'm interested to see where it ranks the next time we all get together. But if Jake is gone for a while, we should get the same group together, because this was a fantastic conversation. I had a great time talking with you guys. And it was everybody had really great ideas. I feel like we all worked together really well for a discussion on this. So
Jake's busy. I'll jump at the chance.
For sure.
Well, you should come even if Jake's not busy.
Yeah, I mean, we could have 5 people on. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, you're awesome,
for
man.
sure.
I've got to learn to keep my mouth shut a little bit more, especially
No, you're good.
Don't worry, me too, man. I
It's
just
all
need to
good.
remember not to read the next book. That's my problem.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, V and Gavin, thank you so much for hanging out with us. You've been fantastic. And yeah, V, do you have anything coming up on your channel that you want to shout out before we do the outro?
So I've been mostly working on my mental health lately. I figured out that I have like ADHD and anxiety, and
Me too, girl.
those have been like a major like problem in my life that I'm trying to like figure out because I like my cushy work at home job and stuff. So right now I'm just putting out like Dresden Files things as I get around to them. So I don't really have anything to plug. But
Cool.
I guess if you've never heard of me before and you like really spoilery things that cover the entire series, I have you covered.
Yeah,
Nice.
she's got like theory videos and stuff over there, some of which I've watched and I've been like, I did not think of that before. So go check them out for sure.
Yeah, and I'm only on my like I've read the series once. This I am up to Cold Days in my second reread of the series.
Oh, cool.
My notes app in my phone usually is like this book, this chapter, blah 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 happens. It's really detailed. I probably think about these things way more than I should.
All right, everyone, that is going to wrap us up for today. Don't forget to check out Caffeinated Covers here on YouTube, linked below in the description. Also down there is all of our links to our socials, like Twitter and Discord, also Patreon if you'd like to support us there, and then, of course, the bingo card that you do not want to miss out on. Let us know down in the comments what you think of Cold Days, and I'm really curious, where would you rank it in the series overall? You could give us your whole like rankings down there if you want. We would love to look at that. As for upcoming episodes for us, I don't necessarily have anything scheduled in stone. Gabe and I actually need to talk about what we're going to do next week, but soon will be the next Harry Potter episode, our next Potter Watch. That's coming up in June. And then probably shortly after that, we will be starting the first book in the Stormlight Archive, Way of Kings. So we're super, super excited to finally get into the Stormlight Archive. So all of that is going to be coming soon. But for now, we'll say goodbye to you guys, and thank you so much for hanging out with us today while we discuss Cold Days. And until next time, make sure that every tent you have is a sex tent. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Nice.
And a big shout out to Caitlin. Thank you so much for backing us at the Green Bone tier.